2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Yo, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, Tony Dunn, a.k.a. The Professor. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. That's right. It's by fans for fans, and I do it with my homeboys each and every week. Tonight we got a great show. We got a good show. We're going to talk about what hill would you die upon? Seriously, as this Panther team has dropped a bunch of games. We're 4-9, 7 under Teddy losses in a row. What hill are you ready to die on going into next year, completing this season? I'm pretty sure Cody Lashney, my homeboy, has got a lot of hills he's going to roll that card up on and die upon. How you doing, Cody?
Tony, you know me, man. I've been dying on a hill for almost 2 years now? Dude, there's a few hills I'm ready to die on. 1, CMC shouldn't play another snap this year. 2, Marty Herney's ass needs to be fired. And number 3, the Carolina Panthers needed to draft a quarterback. But you know what, Tony Dunn? We're going to have this discussion with the best Panther fans and all of YouTube, baby. And I'm talking about C, Shane Welch, Trail 1, 10, Tizzy, Joey the Blind, Panther Esquivel, Underground West, Nick Montiero, 704 Bound Charlotte. I don't even know if I said 10 Tizzy, but I'll say his ass again. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The usual suspects are in the house, folks. And so is Greg, the Bat Daddy, the Stat Daddy, the Man of Many podcast. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I got a couple hills myself, and one of them's getting pretty full as of lately, and that is the Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater comparison, or if you don't want to put it like that, just saying Teddy Bridgewater's not the guy. So that's definitely one of my hills. But I have another hill that I'm going to climb upon, and maybe it's going to be taken over one day, but we'll see who climbs it with me. And it's the No Rules Hill. So we'll explain more about that as we go.
The No Rules Hill. Wow.
No Rules Hill, yeah. So
well, you know what? I don't like rules myself. I like that rule. I don't like rules. I am a kind of revolutionist, contrarian type, anti-authority man who is now a parent, which is problematic. Right? Because then I'm all about rules and silence and quietness. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. You can be a part of the longest running Panthers podcast live on Tuesday nights. The Panthers do play the Green Bay Packers late on Saturday, which I'm going to go ahead and tell the audience and my co-host here is problematic when it comes to my marriage. So Saturday, the Panthers square off against the Packers. And I'm the type of person that just rolls from week to week without thinking about the future that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a teacher, so usually my life is, and when I say I'm a teacher, was a student that ended up turning into a teacher. So I've kind of gauged my life schedule on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule or a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, right? And I don't even know which day it is. I just know it's not Thursday or Tuesday or not Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I just chug along. Mm-hmm. So the Panthers, because we are approaching the holiday season and college football is waning, which has been very difficult. Hasn't it been difficult to keep up with college football this year? Despite less games, the erraticness.
You never know what games are being canceled or postponed
or who's playing, right? It's been very erratic.
It really has, man. And the college football playoff is going to be pretty weird, too. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that can happen. But, yeah, you have 4 and 5 win teams going up against, 9 and 2 teams. It's weird.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm a routine guy. Is that I kind of, I just expect the Panthers to play at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Right.
When they don't, when it's a Monday or Thursday, or in this case a Saturday night game, it throws me for a loop. It throws my schedule off. And despite me having or being on vacation from my real job, I did not think about this as my wife planned a sort of winter Christmas, friends Christmas. Like we have a couple that's going to come stay with us and they're doing like one of those white elephant Christmases, or if you're a racist, we used to call them Chinese Christmases. Right. I don't know what that means. Like we called it a Chinese fire drill when we jumped out of the car and ran all around. Anyway, it's like where you have like
racist to say that, yeah.
Right.
What you mean about it, but yeah.
But ultimately is people bring like a bottle of liquor or a gift card and then you get to take the present away and trade the present. That's what I'm talking about. She's having one of those with our close friend. She planned it and she had told me about it when I listened to it in one ear. Don't think about the future in the other ear. And then I was like, so I got a post-game show Saturday night. And she's like, you want a divorce?
Yeah, those are her exact words.
They were pretty close. She was like, what time? Because she knows I'm going to fight to do it or whatever. So, I was thinking about it. I was like, fuck, I'm not going to be able to. I was going to bed last night going, oh, shit, I'm not going to be able to do this show.
Dude, I forgot all about it, man. It's my college team's biggest fucking game of the year, man. Clemson's playing Notre Dame in a rematch on that same day here at Bank of America Stadium, actually. So
what time, though? Because the Panthers game is at 8:15. Oh, yeah, you'll be done by then. And then you got to watch the Panthers game. I'm sitting here going...
Dude, if Notre Dame loses and then I have to watch the fucking Panthers get smacked by Green Bay in Lambeau, I'm going to be thankful that I'm not on YouTube at 11:30 at night crying in front of all of our YouTube watchers.
Did you say if Notre Dame loses? You mean if Clemson loses?
Yeah. If Notre Dame wins and Clemson loses, I'm going to be a sad boy for sure.
Yeah. So I don't.
I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I'll be able to pre-game drink before the game to prepare for it, and then I'll have a day to drink and recover after it. So I'm good, man.
So I was thinking though, I'm like, shit, we're not going to be able to do this game. Like blah, blah, blah. But since it's an 8:15 game and the game won't be over till somewhat later, I'm wondering if I can just feed my wife enough booze and the party enough booze to where at like 11:30 I just sneak up here and do the post game.
You're just trying to talk yourself into doing it slowly as we go forward.
Right.
I mean, so on the show, but yeah.
So don't hold your breath, folks. But we'll see what happens. I'll try to do my best. I don't like to skip. I don't like skip podcasts. Wore this. I have a friend, and I go to work, and I'm a shirt and tie guy at work a lot. Where especially when I was a little bit younger, and my one friend said this. He was like, "Man, you fucked up." He does the same kind of work I do. He's like, you wear shirt and tie every day? He said, you take one day off, homie. And people are like, why so casual? And I did this, like, and it happened recently. And I, like, went in with just a blazer. I mean, this was, like, last year or whatever. And I went in with a blazer, and they were like, what is it, Casual Wednesday? And I was like, so his solution is don't ever wear a tie. I'm not going to have him host our podcast because we would never have a show then. But, all right, guys, tonight, look, the Panthers lost this past week again, which I'm not upset by. What do you think about this? What do you think about when you see people who are really angry that the Panthers are losing? Like, I have not been sad. Cody, you said that you would be crying on Sunday if Clemson loses and then you got to watch the Panthers. I assume that's because you expect Clemson or you believe they can win.
Yeah, I believe they're the best team in college football. And I think that the Panthers listen, I came into this year knowing that there were going to be some quarterbacks coming through this next draft that could do a whole lot for our football team for the next decade or more if we do right by them and do basically what we didn't do for Cam Newton and build an actual football team around him, protect him, put weapons on the exterior, and build up the defense. We have the potential to do that. And anytime that we have won this year has been, it has hindered our ability to be in the position that we want to draft the quarterback that we want. I was telling the Bat Daddy before the show, man, Panther fans should thank their lucky stars because not only were we correct on Bridgewater and everything that we said would happen did happen, that Bridgewater would be just good enough to play us out of contention for the top two quarterbacks in the draft. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, but Panther fans should be thanking their whatever God they believe in, man, that there is potentially two quarterbacks in Trey Lance and Zach Wilson that might be sitting there for us at, anywhere between 4 to 7, which is probably where we're going to pick. I mean, that's a dream scenario for us. There is no reason for us not to look forward towards our future. But yeah, I'm happy, man. And I'll be even happier the more we lose, as sad as that is.
Yeah. I have not looked at, so I was looking at the press conferences and some different things. And like, you see these people like, how is this man not fired yet? And I'm sitting here going like, I am like I'm like happy with this season and not happy that we're bad. Like I think we're less bad than I expected. But when you're talking about thank your lucky stars that there are two quarterbacks that potentially are kind of game changers that we didn't get played out of, I want to turn the mic over to Greg and say this is maybe in some ways, are we thankful that we do or are starting Teddy Bridgewater instead of Kyle Allen? Because what if PJ Walker, Kyle Allen would have won us that bet or your bet? And what I mean by is, would you bet me? How many you thought the Panthers were going to win a couple more games? Like ultimately, Teddy's doing better than expected at getting us closer to the like. Arguably, we might win more games with Kyle Allen. Ooh,
well, it is arguable, but you also, I mean, it's like I said, I feel like they're kind of the same in the end quarterback. They do it in different kind of ways, but I think you get the same kind of results, and they both have kind of the same ceiling. Right. Is what I mean when I compare them. I don't think they're alike at all in the way they do. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a way better quarterback in the pocket. I think Kyle Allen has a better deep ball. There's different things they do that help their game and bring them to where they are. But as far as your question goes, I guess it is. You kind of do have to be a little thankful that Teddy Bridgewater did end up sucking.
That's such a funny way.
Because and honestly, I kind of want him to suck a little more or just keep on sucking because I'm not a fan of tanking. but there's no chance for this season. So now the best option is a good draft pick. And that's what I want to go for, is a good draft pick. And to people who are upset about the Panthers losing, I don't blame them for that or get upset with them for that, because if I want them to win too, but if you're stuck on wanting them to win and being upset about just that, then that's fine. I'm not going to tell you who to love or why you can or can't love something. You know? So I'm okay with those people who are like that. I don't personally feel like that because I'm expecting them to lose. But Teddy Bridgewater is kind of, you're right. He's kind of putting us in a position where we need to be. I just hate we paid him so much money.
He's almost worse than I expect. Is he better or worse than I expected? I'm almost thinking this is that he's slightly worse than I expected. And he's not bad. It's just so blasé that it is. I don't know how we could have won more than 4 games.
Well, the conversation has shifted. I mean, it has really shifted the other way, where we used to have to, we did the debate with Panther Nation podcast about whether or not Teddy Bridgewater is or isn't it. And listen, like now, if you're saying that Teddy Bridgewater should start next year and that we should build around him, like now you're in the vast minority of Panther fans.
That's a great way of putting it.
Even on saying that, even on like podcasts and stuff,
right? And hey, man, dude, hit the thumbs up button, man, because you hear all the truth first here on the C3 Panthers podcast, man. We don't pull punches. We don't tell you what you want to hear. We're going to speak it like it is. And I also want to add to something too. Like there's this mindset that I hear people talk about where it's like, oh, you don't ever want to tank. Once you start losing, you become a loser franchise and you just stay a loser forever. Dude, that's not what anyone is talking about. No one wants to lose forever. No one wants to lose forever. We want to set up our future to have continuous success. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, even those best teams, they had a low draft pick at one point in time, and they built the foundation of their football team. Mm-hmm. Right now, that's what the Panthers have the opportunity to do. We don't want to lose forever. We just know this year is like the past 2 years. It's meaningless at this point.
Well, I think there's 2 layers to the discussion, and that is like there's an analytic part to the discussion, which is how does winning and losing in theory, it's almost like game theory meet what's going on with the Panthers. And then there is the Sunday game day theory where you want to win each week. Is that even I would say maybe I suggest you, Cody, it was trying to think in game theory terms of like what we can do with the franchise, what's best theoretically, how to do this, is that on Sunday you want them to complete the 4th down. You're not at that moment. So it's kind of, you have to try to separate Sunday from the vision in some ways. And what I mean is that like, and it's hard to do that is because we all want them to win today. We all want them to win Saturday. And I think we'd all be happy if they won against Green Bay. Like we could find some silver lining in this and that. But we could also just say that ultimately, like where is the real trajectory of the team at this moment? So the theory and the practice kind of overlap at times, and then you have to try to separate them. Right now, the Panthers are 4-9, though. The Falcons are 4-9. The Cowboys are 4-9. And if we're looking at Chargers, the draft order, and here's the thing is that right now, I think there's a legitimate chance that the Panthers lose out for the rest of the season. I think, and maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe New Orleans isn't trying to gain some sort of advantage at the end, and they're sitting players. I'm not, as I have not studied the playoff picture enough, but like New Orleans, they're gonna win the division. Do they get? I guess that means they get a bye, right? Would that be first? They're trying to fight for a bye and home field, but home field's not as important during COVID.
This is true. I'm telling you, the Saints are sneaky. I mean, they got knocked out of first place this week by losing to the Eagles. But if there's no chance of them winning or losing first place or like moving it by the game they play us, they'll tank it. They'll throw it just so that we get a worse draft pick. They did it a few years ago.
Yeah.
Why does it matter if you don't move your position in the playoffs, whatever seed you're at? Doesn't matter if you win or lose. They're going to throw that game so we get a worse draft pick. They did, like I said, they did it 2 years ago. So,
jerks.
A lot of people are saying that's what the Patriots are going to do with the Jets.
They're going to lose to the Jets on purpose. Oh, that's awesome! If they do that would be the best.
The Jets.
Wow, that is crazy. That would be.
I would be. You know what? I am secretly rooting for that. But right now, the Cowboys 4-9. Like you said, the Chargers. This is the order on tankathon.com/NFL. Jets number 1 draft pick, Jacksonville 2, Cincinnati 3. We're talking 0-13, 1-12, 2-10, and 1 with the Bengals. Those people aren't going to move, or if they do, it's not going to affect Carolina, right?
Right.
It's here when we hit number 4. The Chargers are 4-9, the Cowboys are 4-9. The Panthers are 4-9, the Falcons are 4-9, and Houston is 4-9.
But that's the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's the Dolphins pick, but depending on what Houston does is whether it affects us or not.
Yeah, true. So
the Panthers are going to could arguably lose out. What I was trying to think about is the Chargers. Who's going to win a game? You know, are the Chargers going to win a game? Is Dallas going to win a game? Is Carolina going to win a game? Is Atlanta going to win a game? Or is Houston going to win a game?
Tampa Bay or Atlanta has to play Tampa Bay twice and Kansas City.
Yeah, like I think they are going to lose out. Like just
Dude,
like
and that sucks.
All we need is for Dallas to win a game. We just got to get ahead of Dallas because Cincinnati and the Chargers are not going to draft a quarterback. That's going to leave our pick of the third or fourth, whoever we think the third and fourth best quarterback is in the draft.
Well, Dallas is a problem because even if they decide not to draft a quarterback and they're ahead of us, it means they're going to be taking calls from teams that want to move into that pick if they're looking to trade down. And then another thing,
we need
too,
both of them to lose.
I think they're going to want to take a quarterback.
The Chargers play the Raiders. Then they go, so they're on the road against the Raiders. Then they got to play at home against the Broncos, and then they're on the road against the Chiefs. The question is, are the
other
Chiefs
than
sitting
the Chiefs,
people?
they could win both of those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, I'm almost thinking this is the game they
Yeah.
lose. Is like you're almost cheering for that. Like if they lose against the Raiders, is like what you really need. Because I expect them to beat the Broncos, or I think they could. And I'm just sitting there looking, are the Chiefs sitting people in the last week? You know, are the Chiefs not playing for anything? So
And the Chargers damn near did it earlier this year, and Justin Herbert's first start.
Yeah,
It came down to the wire.
They can beat the Chiefs. Yeah,
Yeah, the Chargers. I'm not worried about. The only teams I'm worried about is the Cowboys and Atlanta. Dude, I don't know that a brand new head coach and GM are gonna love them some Matt Ryan, an older quarterback that's worth $100+ million. Dude, that's insane.
the Cowboys are going to win a game, homie. The Cowboys can win a game, and I think they are going to. They host the 49ers this week.
Mm-hmm.
They host the Eagles next week. And they're on the road against the Giants. Now, do I believe they're going to win any of those games? I'm not really sure. But they could. Any one of those games.
Well, I'll tell you who you really got to watch out for in that case, then, is you got to watch out for Washington. Because all Washington needs to do is win one game and they win that division. If Washington wins next week and Dallas has 2 more games left and winning one of those games is going to mess up their draft position, they're definitely not going to win one of those last 2 games. So if Washington wins next week, you may see Dallas just tank the rest of the last 2 games to keep their draft spot. Because I could definitely see them doing that. You know, if you're not going to win the division, you're not going to go to the playoffs.
The Cowboys could just as easily lose all of those. Philadelphia beat the Saints with their
That's
defense.
what I'm saying. Is that's
Yeah.
up in the air? I feel like this is that for us, it's less up in the air than it is for the Cow. Like I feel like, look, is that on paper we shouldn't win any games.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
It's
we
not
can.
been
I do
fair.
believe the Panthers have been competitive enough that they could win against the Redskins or the Washington football team. They could win, I guess, in some crazy moment against the Packers or something. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's not theoretical, but I mean, just look at it. You know, I'm putting money on it. But I'm less putting. I don't feel good if I'm a 49ers fan going into Dallas.
Why?
Well, because the 49ers are just so banged up. I haven't felt good about them going in anywhere.
Yeah,
It's
but
less about the
are
Cowboys.
Terrible though. Have you seen the Cowboys? Like, dude, they are trash. Like,
I
How
know.
are they so
I know.
terrible? I don't understand how they're so terrible.
I
There's so
really
much
don't.
talent.
Apparently, their defense is like a record-breaking bad defense.
I get that. Yeah.
Which
So,
is
I
crazy
don't
because
know, man.
Alden Smith or whatever is scoring touchdowns each week or what? It's getting
Well,
20
also
sacks.
fucking Butterfingers, Mike McCarthy, dude, that guy, dude, he's a swindler, man. And dude, there were Panther fans that wanted us to sign
He
this
was in
man.
my ear, bro.
Yeah,
I almost got wooed. You were the only reason I didn't. You were the only
Yeah.
person that kept me from going, oh, I like the way he's talking. I get it's
Yeah,
almost like it was
and
pretty
to be
talk.
fair, he lost Dak Prescott like 3 games into the season. So I mean, to be fair, you lose this quarterback. I'm not saying Dak Prescott's one of the best in the league, but he's a good quarterback. I think he's better than Dalton or anybody else they put behind
Their
center.
defense has just been such
But
a
their defense
shit
is
show.
terrible.
It's crazy.
You're right.
It's just it's
He never had a good
incompetent.
defense at Green Bay.
Right.
You know, so that's just not his thing.
Well, I mean, that's his fault, though. You know,
No, yeah.
you're the head coach of the football team, and apparently there's no like the locker room. There are players that already don't like him at all. Think he's a bad coach, talking shit to him or about him to the media. Apparently, so yeah, man. I never fell for that snake oil bullshit, man.
No,
Like,
you were
don't
right.
try
You
and-
were right. You were right the whole time.
Quit trying to repackage some old new shit and repurpose it into something that it isn't. Let's do something brand new. Let's buy something out the box, man. And
What do you think? We're a couple of days removed from the Panthers losing at home to Denver, coming off of a bye, which before a bad week against Minnesota. The team has failed in all aspects of the game 2 weeks in a row. Right? I mean, when we had the Minnesota game, I think we were on the road. I'm not sure about that, but we had a chance for the defense to stop them. It didn't happen. We had a chance for the offense to score and put it away. It didn't happen. And we had a chance for Joey Slye to kick a game-winning field goal that was reasonable. It didn't happen. So against the Vikings, a full team loss. I'd argue that the same thing happened this past week, coming off the bye, though, against Denver. The defense gave up big plays. The special teams gave up a punt return touchdown or kickoff. Yeah, punt return touchdown. And the offense failed to get in the red zone when it was necessary. So now that the team has failed in this light, off of 2 weeks in a row, has anything changed in your mind? What has galvanized, solidified, or evolved since we talked on Sunday?
I mean, I don't know about evolved. I know one thing. I'm still perplexed because I keep on hearing this that we are going to play Christian McCaffrey at some point this season. Like I want to talk about this because I keep on hearing Matt Rule say that Christian McCaffrey is gonna play, and I don't understand this. Like I don't understand it, and it's one of those things that it's like this isn't any different from Ron Rivera. Like, don't piss on our leg and tell us that you're training. We know this season is done for. There is nothing to win, not this year. So why take a player who has been hurt in, almost every game we've played this year, trot him back out there, and risk further injury going into next year when, we're going to need him more than we ever have, especially if we have a new quarterback.
Is it coach speak? And is it not, while you hear, I'm going to play the players, I coach each week. They're going to play each week. Not that he said it like that, but he's, Christian McCaffrey wants to play. He's a coach that wants his players to play. He wants to win on Sunday. But is it coach speak to a degree in the fact that, Christian's going to play. Christian's going to play. Wow, he's got a quad injury. Christian's going to play. Christian's going to play. He's not playing this week. Is it just lip service, or is he really protecting him without saying it?
Oh, I think he's 100% like lip service, Like,
Which
do
means
we ever
he's
hear
protecting
anything about
McCaffrey without saying, I don't want to do, without saying it.
Yeah. Well, no. I don't think he's protecting him. I don't know if McCaffrey is saying he wants to or not. Like, I think he may be being told not to play. But I don't know Christian McCaffrey's thoughts about that. I mean,
I have no doubt.
It's convenient he got hurt again. Wednesday.
That's what I'm saying. I think Rule is saying, hey, yeah, we want McCaffrey to play. We want to be competitive each week. I saw he got a toenail that's too long. He can't play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, man. And, I'll tell you, you were talking about things that have evolved since Sunday, Tony. I'll tell you a couple of things that have evolved for me. PJ Walker, Sunday, I wanted him in the game. Now that you've brought up this point, we're thinking about Teddy Bridgewater taking us to the promised land of that number 5 pick or number 4 pick. I think he might be able to take us there. Teddy might be able to take us to that number 4 pick. I'm pulling for Teddy.
He's doing exactly what we wanted him to do. I don't know if it's what the Panthers coaching staff wanted to happen. But boy, we're in these games, and I don't think it's at all because of Teddy.
How about this? If PJ Walker was our starter, I would feel comfortable picking us in just about every game going forward. The Saints are going to be resting players.
Yes. To that point, isn't starting Teddy the best possible thing?
No doubt.
I feel terrible saying that.
Team Bridgewater, baby. I'm back on the bridge. Let's go.
Oh, and one more thing that I kind of thought about just evolving. I started looking at how the season's played out and where we were going. And now I look at the franchise quarterback that we got rid of and the coach that we got rid of that are now both on teams that are less talented than we have in new systems that are both going to win more games than us. And one of them's going to win their division.
Yeah.
So
the Redskins are not less talented
Rivera and Cam Newton that bad.
The Redskins are a perfect fit for Ron Rivera. Team. Yes, football. Sorry. The football team is a perfect fit for Ron Rivera.
Sounds weird.
I bet you we would win one game or we would be winless if Ron Rivera was our coach this year.
I think so.
Tony, how you've been saying that this is a big time matchup for Ron Rivera and he's going to be motivated and he has something to win for the division. But did you think there's any degree of that from Matt Rule and the Panthers? Okay, here comes the old coach, the guy that we fired in favor of you. So do you think this is a vice versa? Do you think there's any gusto to try and go improve yourself against old coach?
And remember, too, they were the number 2 pick last year. So it's not like he inherited a team that was talented or full of, great players.
Well, he first inherited, and this is why the football team is a perfect place for Ron Rivera. Is Ron Rivera, again, is that he is not a bad coach. He's a 2-time coach of the year. He's fine. Mm-hmm. Coach Rivera is sort of a steadying factor. He's like putting weight in the ballast of a boat. And that is, you have a boat that is, the waves bounce it all around. Well, you put a couple of weights in the bottom and it really sounds it out a little bit. Levels it out. It holds it down. So Ron Rivera is a anchor for an organization. He is in many ways, a guy that's unflappable in a way that is, we're going to do this from week to week. We're going to keep doing this and it's going to work. And he has a recipe and he has a type of team and it does work. It works. But the problem is that it can't work all the time. And Rivera's great with veteran players, a good defense, and low-scoring games. Like, that's what he wants, and that's what he can do. So think about what's going on with the Redskins. They got a kick-ass defense right now. They have, like, 10 first-round picks on their defensive line, it feels like. They just got Chase Young, who is like the monster man over there. That on top of them having, they took D linemen like in the first round every year for the last 4 years.
Yeah, Jared Allen from Alabama, Deron Payne from Alabama, Montez Sweat, who we previewed on our show from Mississippi State, and now Chase Young.
Yes,
they have legit one of the best front fours in all of football.
And then you add to the back, they got that safety. They paid big money from the Giants that got in a fight with Dave Gettleman. They've got talent on their defense. And think about this: is what was Washington when they had Dwayne Haskins? They were fucking terrible. Then they got a little bit better when they had Kyle Allen. And now they're winning games because they got Alex Smith. And what they're doing is they are Teddy Bridgewater would work in Washington, but the defense would not work if Rivera was the coach this year. So like that team fits his mold, but at the same time, they're not that good anyway. Right? Like they've only won 5 or 6, you know what I mean? So it's not like they're great. Do you think that the Panthers would be better if Ron Rivera was the coach this year or if Matt Rule is the coach? I think it's clear and easy that we're better with Matt Rule because of the young talent we have on our team, and he can make more of that. I would think we would look a mess with some of those youngsters if Rivera was the coach right now.
And how about this? If Ron Rivera was still our coach, we wouldn't be talking about Jeremy Chin near the same way. Not even near the same way. I'm telling you, man.
Maybe not. So what you're saying, Tony, is it's not the amount of young people on the team. It's how well the coach relates to the young people is what Rule has the advantage here, which I can agree with that. More than likely.
Yeah.
I think Tony means getting the most out of all of the young talent.
Yeah, okay. I can
have right now.
Be more relatable to younger talent. I get that. Yeah.
So, all right. So the Panthers are, well, we got to watch the football team. The football team's catching. This is what Ron Rivera does with the defensive team. He wins in December.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, listen. I mean, if it's not for Kevin Stefanski for the Browns turning them around, dude, how do you pick anyone other than Ron Rivera? Dude, the Washington football team.
Who is the coach of the year?
Dude, it's between Kevin Stefanski and Ron Rivera, isn't it?
Wow.
How's that going to look with the coach that we just got rid of wins coach of the year?
But to add to that, what I'm saying is, like, think how bad that team started. They could end up going 9-7. And that would be the team, especially of that momentum, that you probably don't want to see in the playoffs with that defensive line. You know what I mean? So it's like
that. But I've seen plenty of teams getting as a wild card. And I think, what did the Giants get as a wild card the year they beat the Patriots the first time? Was it 10?
Yeah,
10-6 or 9-7?
I think they were 10-6.
Either way,
maybe 9-7.
Better than 9-7. But I'm saying I've seen teams that get there like that and they can make a run. So I mean, it's possible, you know. But at least it's, you know, winning.
Well, how about us? Remember when
they're going to fight? They're going to have more than twice the amount of wins we do.
Hold on. Let's add on to it. Ron Rivera has done it before when the Panthers were 7-8-1 in 2014, and we beat the Cardinals in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So hey, man, shout out Ron. Listen, there a few things. Two things can be true at the same time. It was best for both parties to move on. It was best for Ron Rivera to move on. He's in a better spot where he essentially gets to rebuild a football team going through an identity crisis right now. And it was better for the Panthers to get a younger head coach that we're going to be able to do a lot of new things with in the future. So, I mean, it worked out for everyone.
Yeah.
I understand that, but the way it worked out, didn't they fire him midseason?
No, they fired him at like the 15th game. You know, it was like 1 week left or something. 2 weeks left.
I can't remember. Anyway, either way,
it was after we played Washington.
You're absolutely right, Cody. I mean,
it was right after we played Washington that you got fired.
Well, oh man, the stories.
Like them, boys.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the cat calls. Go ahead and subscribe to the show. Smash the thumbs up button. Look, you can look at this big giant cast I got on, or splint that I gotta wear for 6 weeks now, because I smashed the thumbs up button so hard I broke my thumb in half like a. Man, it's bad. It's bad. They showed me that. I didn't think it was that bad. Went to the doctor Thursday last week. Got the X-rays. They said it's broke or whatever, and then. Yesterday I went to like sports mat where I met the doctor who was actually and he showed me the picture and he was like, "This shit looks good, bro." And when he says it looks good, like he was cheesing over it being broke as fuck. It was like, anyway, I smashed the thumbs up button so hard I broke my thumb. Why don't y'all do it? Call into the cat calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's go ahead and see what you guys got to say.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Charleston. I got a question for y'all. Y'all saw Jalen Hurts kill it out there with the Eagles. And he got drafted, I believe, 53rd pick. We could have drafted him. And, we got Grossman Toast, which I'm happy. He's coming along good and everything. But, I want to know what y'all thoughts is, if, we're going to regret passing on Hurts. And what would that do to Marnie Herney? Thank you. Peace.
That's for you, Cody, because you got the most insight, and then I'll hit it.
Yeah, listen, so Jalen Hurts, the Saints didn't know how the Eagles intended to play him. Like, there were talks that they were going to try and use him like a Taysom Hill and use him as more of a run threat, which, by the way, he did. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to rush for over 100 yards in his first NFL start. But ultimately,
he also was pressured on like 10 plays or something where he then had positive, not sacked. Like he should have been sacked and had positive yards on it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he definitely did some good things. Based on my evaluation of him, I didn't really like his arm talent. He's not, I mean, he's mobile, but he's not fast. He's not like Jackson or Murray. No, I think we're fine, man. I also think defenses are going to catch up to Jalen Hurts real quick. I think he's looking good right now. I don't necessarily see that lasting, especially in Philadelphia, but I could be wrong. I mean, the dude is a testament to determination. If you know his story and know what he went through at Alabama and then transferring to Oklahoma.
And he's gotten better each year, right? Like, I mean, he continues to defy. Like, he's gotten better each year. Like, he got better each year in Alabama, and then he took a big leap when he worked with homeboy in Oklahoma.
His ceiling is probably Dak Prescott.
Right.
Which is fine. I mean,
I don't think we missed anything, but it's always more than anything than it does maybe relate to us as a franchise. Like, did we miss on him or not? Is it just kind of shows you as a team how you continually are throwing darts at a moving target. And I mean, if you think about this, is the Eagles just paid Wentz. They invested a high-end pick in Wentz, and you would think he checked all the boxes. You'd probably be jumping up and down for Carson Wentz if we were in that draft, right? I mean, he's that North Dakota State guy, and to be honest, I think that everybody's probably going to give up on him a little too quickly. I think you related a Ryan Tannehill type potential when it comes to Carson Wentz in the post game. But it shows you this, is that even with a team who's got money and a quarterback drafted, they're always trying to hit their own moving target. Look, Green Bay drafted, Jordan Love in the first round?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love.
You don't know when it's not going to be there and when it is there. And you're always trying to punch at kind of a shadow in the dark to a certain degree.
I know Philly fans hated that pick when it happened. But man, I'll be damned if if it didn't turn out to be prudent. You know,
right?
Well, we were talking. The caller asked us about Jalen Hurts and if we're regretting, or maybe we missed out not taking Jalen Hurts. And I basically said defenses are going to catch up to him. Yeah. He doesn't have any elite level arm talent. He's not overly fast. He'll miss a lot of layup throws, but he's not a bad quarterback either. But he's just not the player that I would build.
He might be better than we give him credit for, right? He's one of those guys. Be better than Bridgewater. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next call. 252-228-5098.
Hey, yo, this is Kevin from fucking Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, he's mad.
I want to call up and I made a mistake all right? I thought fucking the Jets quarterback was going to be fucking great, and I saw him. He fucking sucked. All right, I admit that. That was all my bad. Well, you know what? I got another situation we can fix, okay? Another better fucking quarterback. And I'm doing my New York accent because it's about a New York quarterback. Not Daniel fucking Jones. It's not that fucking Buffalo fuck. Or you know who's going to come back? You know who we're going to sign in the offseason to fix our problems? Because we're not going to fucking draft a quarterback in the top 6 fucking round. I guarantee that. I'm sorry to fucking go there. It's not fucking happening. All right, I'd rather go to the fucking second or third or fourth, fifth, sixth, fucking, I don't care, fucking 8.
Like he's like a
I tell you what I'm getting. We're going to get the greatest fucking New York quarterback ever. And that's Vinny fucking Testaverde. We're going to get fucking Vinny back into here. Old man Vinny. You ever seen the fucking Logan movie?
He's probably
fucking old
like
Wolverine?
60
that's
right now.
That's going to be Vinny. All right? Remember when fucking Wolverine drank that liquid meth?
08, so what does
fucking
that
went
make
on
him
a fucking
now?
rampage? That's what we're going to do with Vinny. We're going to give Vinny some liquid fucking meth.
We're going on with this mess.
That's my friend from Twitter. He's a Gamecocks fan. If you don't know Gamecocks, that's the rival for Clemson. But he's also a Panthers fan. He likes to shoot the shit.
I love it.
But he told me he called them twice. So there should be another one with my man doing the New York accent too.
All right. I thought the first one was from him and reasonable. Second one, I love Vinny. I like Vinny Testaverde. So you know what? I'm all right.
Have you heard the stories about how he loves to talk about himself? Like, dude, if you're around Vinny Testaverde, he will talk with you like he's fucking John Elway. I've heard like multiple people say this about him on like podcasts.
I would too. I would if I was him too. All right, 252-228-5098. I'm refilling my beer as this call goes on.
I sat here Sunday and
this
I couldn't even watch the podcast. I had to wait until Monday night here to watch it. Hey, just because the game, man, I'm so tired of these games where we're so close. And then the draft position looks good, and I'll get it out in a minute. But I get tired of playing Pittsburgh and Denver and all these other teams. We've only beat one time in our history. So many times we should have won.
Yeah.
And when I hate a franchise like Denver or New England or even Pittsburgh or Atlanta, New Orleans rivals, I get tired of losing these games. I watch football because I want my team to win. I love a nice draft pick. At the end of the day, it's good to have a higher pick. But I just get so sick and tired of seeing the same story. One thing I'll say, I know a lot of people, I've been online and people are on Coach Rule and Joe Brady saying, okay, we made a mistake with the coaching staff. Look at how well Ron's doing in Washington. I don't want Ron Rivera back. I got so sick and tired of seeing the coach fold his arms, and now we've got a coach I see in the game. He is focused in the game. He's paying attention to what's going on. Yeah, we're losing these games, but we're close. His coaches have made some mistakes, but I think they're game planning, and we're preparing a roster who is not as strong as rosters we've had in the past. We've got a good coach. We knew the first year was going to be a struggle. Everywhere Matt Rule has been, his first year has been a struggle, but he's gotten better. I think you'll definitely see a corner turn next year. Now, in saying that, I really do feel getting a better draft pick, it does scare me a little bit, because I know everybody wants, Zach Wilson. I'm just so worried we're going to pick the next Blake Bortles, or we're going to get Josh. Gosh, I can't think of his name now. The guy
Josh
who was
Rosen,
drafted
I
by
bet you thinking.
Arizona, who went to Miami.
Yeah, Rosen.
I forgot where he is now. I'm just afraid we're going to get a quarterback who's is really not going to be worthy of a top 5 or 10 pick. And we have a Zach Parsons out there, a linebacker that can be a stud for 10 years. Or we can get a Patrick Surtain from Alabama, a shutdown corner. When's the last time we've had one? I really want to build a strong defense. I think that Phil Snow's done a good job considering what we've had to work with. I was upset with Jermaine Carter's play. It was a bonehead play too, but I'd rather see him inserted making plays than we had tired Whitehead out there who couldn't make a tackle. That was, hey, he picked up on that right away and didn't keep him. You think Lon was taking the veteran off?
True, that is. I'm sure he's going to call. We got a part 2 coming to that. But let's go ahead and discuss that.
What? Tell me, call his name again. He calls in all the time. He's one of our.
I'm pretty sure it's Chuck from Elizabeth City.
Chuck from Elizabeth City. So, well, listen, Chuck. I want to make sure that we're out here plainly saying this. Man, we don't like this losing shit either, man. It's not fun. It's not fun, man. I mean, football hasn't really been fun since 2017, and that's just real. And I also wanted to point to something that you mentioned, Chuck. Let's look at Matt Rule. What do we know about Matt Rule? He always starts out slow wherever he starts out, and then it builds and gets better and better. And I think that Matt Rule is going to have that same trajectory for us. Now, about the quarterback, I understand that hesitancy. And listen, I understand that not everybody has maybe looked into Zach Wilson or Trey Lance, but I understand that. I don't want to just poo-poo those concerns away. You definitely don't want to draft a quarterback that, you overdraft him because you need one and then you end up stuck with him. I can tell you right now, for whatever you hold my opinion to mean, I genuinely don't believe that either Zach Wilson or Trey Lance are going to bust. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. But let's also point out that Patrick Surtain and Caleb Fairley and Micah Parsons and Penei Sewell, none of those guys are sure bets either. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jeffrey Okudah was drafted with the 3rd pick last year, and he hasn't done anything.
I think he's getting groin surgery. I saw.
Yeah, so he's been injured, but I don't know all the context around it. But no player is a guaranteed superstar. So what I would say is we can't let our fear dictate how we act towards building for the future. Because if there's a player there that checks every box,
and you believe in him, I think let's add that you believe in him, right? It's not for just checking every box, but if you are an organization and he checks every box and you believe in him, why wouldn't you? I think it's kind of like betting on a craps table or a roulette table. Is you can step up there and you can play safe bets. You can. You go play roulette and you bet black or red every time. Or you go and play craps and you bet the pass line or whatever it is, the don't pass the field, or I don't know what but yes, inherently, when you bet on one player in a quarterback, it is inherently more risky. You know what I mean? Like if a linebacker fizzles out and is a dud, he's still on the team, maybe. Like, I mean, you could maybe argue that Shaq Thompson fizzled out or is a dud. I would say, I'm not trying to say a dud, but it's like a less. The gamble is you're putting less money in and you're risking less at the same time. So yeah, if the quarterback doesn't work, you feel it, you see it, and it hurts.
It definitely hurts.
Is that, and if it does pay off, it pays off. The one thing I don't want you to, I've said this too, is that I don't want us to be backed in or forced in. Dave Gettleman used to say this, is we use free agency to set up the draft. And maybe that's the brilliance maybe there is some brilliance in the Teddy Bridgewater pick, is that it doesn't force you this year to have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a body that is somewhat competent and capable at this moment. So if the quarterback is there, you can get him. If he's not there, you don't have to get him. Yeah. So and then you can chime in, Cody, and say, I guess, like, the theory is like, how do you recognize when the circumstances are on the precipice of success or failure enough to where it's valuable enough to trade up, right? And then that's another layer to the discussion.
There's a whole nother. I mean, listen, it gets very involved. You're scouting the players off the field. Are they studiers? Are they going to be the kind of players that are going to devote themselves to learning the playbook and getting better and being in control? I mean, there's a lot that goes into playing quarterback. It's the most important position in football. And listen, I mean, a lot of any player could bust, but one of the things that I've been really tough on is that a lot of these young quarterbacks are coming into the NFL more prepared than they ever have been. I mean, they've been doing quarterback competitions with NFL concepts since they've been, 13 years old. So
right. In passing leagues, for all their time. I'd be interested in see this, is that we talk about how many first round busts there are at quarterback, right? I mean, it's easy. Like, it's kind of like an easy talking point for us. We've talked about, hey, how Deshaun Watson got drafted behind Trubisky. These are, I wonder, the more nuanced discussion would be is like, how many top tackles have busted out? And I tell you this, a ton. I know that. Think about the cat that got traded from the guy that took the bonk hit with the mask on, that went from the Dolphins to
Laramie Tunsil.
All right, Laramie Tunsil. Think about the guy that in that draft. Even if you think about that draft, was like the biggest tackle draft ever. It was Tunsil. It was remember the guy that fell to the Cowboys? They got him in the extra draft because he was associated with a murder, just because it was like
La'el Collins.
Yeah, La'el Collins. And then you had the guy, I think he plays, I'm terrible with names, so I'm using you, Cody, to filter this. Then there was a guy that was drafted by the Cardinals. There were all these people. There's like 6 names that were like, these are first round talent. These are left tackle ready. And then not a single nut of one of those bitches worked out either.
You're absolutely right, Tony. I mean, it goes back to what Cody's saying. There's no guarantee about any player. I watched Jamarcus Russell throw a ball 70 yards on one knee and thought he was going to be the greatest quarterback that ever played the game. And I guarantee you a lot of people probably don't even remember who Jamarcus Russell is. Like, it just happens like that. Like Cody says, you got to take a chance.
If you don't know who Jamarcus Russell is, folks, he's also the guy that walked around parties with a backpack full of NyQuil. Yes. I think he poured NyQuil into a camel pack and just walked around sipping scissor all night long. That's what he said. Like, this mug was crunk on NyQuil all day. And guess who else probably could use a muscle relaxer? It's our friend, CK.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, CK?
There's that boy.
How you doing?
Hey, living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Well, welcome to the show. And
did I miss anything good?
Yes. No. Yes and no. Some great calls. You missed this giant thumb of mine that I smashed the thumbs up button so much it got big. And
Your wife
second,
must be happy.
Yeah. Tonight's show is What Hill Will You Die On? And we might as well ask this between calls. What is your hill that you will die on right now when it comes to the Carolina Panthers? I know a little bit about what Cody would say. I think I know a little bit about Greg would say. But what would you say, CK? What hill would you or would you not die on as we see people crowd hills and retreat from hills right now in Panther Nation?
I think that the hill the thing is, I defend Marty Herney a lot, right? I'm not going to be upset if we get rid of him, right? It's not going to be this thing that I'm super like mad about or anything like that. The arguments I make is that what he does has not been replicated. So the hill that I'm dying on is keeping Marty Herney is not a guarantee of mediocrity. Honestly, with a new regime telling him what they want, and if we have the confidence in our coaches to relay the message and what they want, I'm confident Marty Herney has the ability to assess talent to get them what they need. Hence what happened this year, within the draft. I think we were pretty happy about that. So my hill that I'm going to die on is I'm not going to be overly upset if Marty Herney's gone, but I'm also going to be encouraged if he's still here. So I think the hill is not to fire Marty Herney or to keep him, but to say, listen, he's not the worst in the world. And honestly, he could be pretty good if you give him an opportunity with this regime.
There's two people that
you're not really on a hill. You're more on a mound.
I'm on a mountain. I'm not on the hill like I was with Ron Rivera being fired, right?
He's more of a bulwark on a hill.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to do that because the easy answer is to be on the hill that Teddy Bridgewater is not going to be the quarterback next year, right? And our boy from Sports Illustrated, Jason, he made a tweet. He said, I think the regular national media is starting to realize that as well. And you're seeing it. If you read the NFL rankings, like power rankings, they said it's uncertain. This is the first week I think that you're starting to see this switch from, Bridgewater is doing a fantastic job out there in Carolina. They just don't have these pieces or that piece or anything like that. We're not sure what we have with Teddy Bridgewater. He has been hot and cold. And honestly, I don't think he's been hot. I think he's just been lukewarm.
He's been the same. And what does this tell us about the media, folks? I really maybe this is where we should pivot our discussion. Maybe this is my hill to die upon how us really watching closely, being involved. Yeah. Like we don't first, there's no monetary gain in the C3 Panthers podcast, right? There's not anything that's noteworthy. Second,
I've never taken a paycheck from C3 if that's what you're asking.
Right. Second, we have no limits to the style in our discussion, right? There's nobody, since we don't get paid, we don't have advertising, we don't have this, we just do what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And it kind of shows you how influenced even media is by paycheck, by what's easy. And to me, the fact is that now the media is just simply saying things that were apparent kind of the whole time, but they weren't fashionable to say at the moment.
No, because Teddy Bridgewater was still rolling off of the high that he gave the media when he won those 5 games with New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Like, because he was with New Orleans and he is this feel-good story, the media up until this point was all just unicorns and rainbows. Like, he's got the greatest completion rating, all these things. And then now that it's really not converting, like we have most likely, with Chase Young, I think very close on his heels, the defensive rookie of the year. We have all these moves that are making our defense is getting better. As bad as it is, it's getting better. There is no more excuse. We have one of the best receiving cores, and everybody in the league has noticed that. We have one of the best, even without Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, our run game has not been hurt as much. Granted, again, we saw what it means to have Christian McCaffrey in the lineup when we faced the Kansas City Chiefs. But, now the blame can only go one way. Like, That's the part that I'm going to put into it, is that you got to look at this team and realize the common denominator here that hasn't been exceptional is Teddy Bridgewater.
Is there irritation though, guys? Though there's a certain irritation to me when I hear those storylines of, well, like leads and passing percentage, this and that. You know, like you heard it for so long. But then you even had Teddy is doing this, and all right, I'll give you an example. Both Scott Fowler, who always hated Cam Newton, he's always been a shithead to Cam Newton, and David Newton, who's just a moron opportunist. I don't know if he's more moronic or more moronic opportunist. He's a moron, though. At the same time, these guys will take all of a sudden they cuddle up to this story. But boy, do they throw that story overboard quickly. And I would say we've seen Panther fans, like Cody said, what did you say? A reorientation of the discussion, a shift, right, Cody?
Oh, yeah,
Is
man.
that
There's
like
been
we see we got 5 on it. People tagging Muggs on his birthday saying it's your best, I'm your biggest fan, to you a bum. Boy, how the wind shifts.
Everything changed. Everything changed, man.
I have a question. CK, I 100% agree with you with what you're saying with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And you know, everything you put out there. What I want to know is, if we end up not drafting a quarterback and we go with Teddy Bridgewater next year, how long is it before we start to give the coaching staff some of the blame? Because they're the ones who are putting the players out there.
I think that if we don't draft a quarterback, I think the coaches blame immediately.
If we continue this way next year, like we keep Teddy Bridgewater and we win 5 or 6 games, or we start the season out the way we did. Well, like, what is your timetable for starting to shift some of the blame to the coaching for not making adjustments, not changing, not recognizing the talent?
If there isn't a improvement from this year, next year, then we can blame we can't sit here and say we need to fire Matt Rule at that point in time.
Right.
But you know, from what we've expected and what Matt Rule has given us an expectation of is, you know, hey, listen, we're dealing with much better athletes than what I had to deal with at Temple and Baylor, right? So the rebuild aspect of this is not going to take as long. And honestly, I don't think it's going to take any time. And I think they approach the offseason that way. You see the team built the way that Matt Rule wanted it built. And now next year, now that he's had a full year of understanding what this is going to be, he'll have his own off season. So you can't even use COVID as an excuse at that point in time, hopefully. You know, all of these things, if there is not an improvement next year from where we're at now, then I think you have to, you know, point some fingers at the coaching staff, because in my opinion, and I think Cody may disagree on this, if we don't draft a quarterback and in the first round, that's not a decision Marty Herney made. That's a decision that the coaching staff made.
Interesting.
The blame needs to be on everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
Every single person. If there is a single soul on that team who's paid by David Tepper to do anything with the Panthers, believes that Teddy Bridgewater is the answer going forward, they don't deserve their fucking job. It's that simple to me. It's that simple, and that's how strong I feel about it.
Well, here's the thing: is that, but you have to let's delineate between the difference of believing Teddy is the answer and not drafting a quarterback. You could not draft a quarterback.
You can sign somebody
still, but you could just still believe it's not the time.
But how much better do we reasonably expect this team to be without a
I understand that. I understand that, and that's a fair question. I'm just saying this is that if the guy isn't there and you don't draft him, right? You say we got to tough it out with Teddy. Like, he can go up there and say we're going to tough it out with Teddy and not say those words and not believe he's the answer. You can do both. Can be true, is like you say, is that just if we don't draft a quarterback does not only and entirely mean that we believe and endorse that Teddy is the future.
But unless you have a plan in the future, like if you're going to say Teddy's not the answer, if you're going to believe that, then not drafting a quarterback when you have the chance to is completely incorrect.
I'm not saying if the chance is there. Like, I mean, if the chance is there and you don't do it, that's a different story. But if the chance passes, kind of like it did in this past draft, Tua and Justin Herbert were both if any one of those guys would have showed up and the Panthers had a pick, they would have reasonably drafted that person. If they didn't draft them, then they said it's not the time. Yeah. It's not true, but like if they're not there, it's not like you force the issue with somebody else.
But that's where I think Cody would disagree. Cody is going to, based on the past shows we've had, Cody would probably say, if we don't draft a quarterback, if there is not a quarterback available when we draft, then it's still on our coaching and our GM and our ownership for not making an attempt to trade up, and get the quarterback of the future, and do any type of give up something to be able to get. But that person.
How do you know what year that is to do that? And arguably, we've seen Tua look pretty good. But are you saying that we did like he was worthy? Cody, would you, and after watching him for 8 games, and now even Miami considering potentially to pick a quarterback still, like there's crazy talk about that. I don't know how they would. Like they've fallen out of contention so much, but the Houston pick, I mean, trading up for them, should we have traded up for Tua? I don't think that would have been right either.
No, I think that would have been something we would have been vilified for, and that was a question for Cody. My bad.
Well, we would have been vilified for it, but dude, listen, I don't care if I differ from a lot of other people. I maintain that if we would have drafted Justin Herbert, just like everyone would have hated it when it happened.
No, we like that. What about Tua, though? What if we would have traded up over Herbert and traded up for Tua? What would you have felt now? In retrospect, quarterback.
In retrospect, I mean, I don't know. At the time, I really liked Tua. And
wouldn't you have rather been in this draft looking for a Zach Wilson or whatever than Tua?
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson has a higher ceiling than Tua just because he has much better physical talent than Tua does. 6'3", has a much better arm and is far more mobile. And I don't believe there's a real bad injury concern with Zach. At least not like Tua had.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean he checks more boxes right away. Now Tua was in a better conference on a better football team against better competition.
I was big time Tua. I wanted Tua, but when I look at him now, he looks good. I think he can succeed. I don't think he's going to be a failure. But I do think that like he has some limitations physically. And it kind of I'm trying to think of somebody else that I think Baker Mayfield's a little bit like this. It's like I'm not saying Baker Mayfield can't be good. It's just I think he's got some limitations on like his like how high he could be. Like is like in the most perfect world, what could it be? And I'm starting to wonder that with Tua.
Yeah.
Well, also with Baker Mayfield, that offense, if y'all watch the Browns, it's not built off of Baker Mayfield having to make plays. Yeah. They're going to run the football down your throat with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and they're going to ask Baker Mayfield to make a select few throws on timing and in rhythm. I mean, Baker Mayfield was not worth the number 1 pick in the draft, in my opinion.
I think he's going to have an Andy Dalton type career where he's going to be a good quarterback that can take a team to 10, 11 wins into the playoffs, but probably never win it all.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, it depends. I mean, he's probably, I'd put him in that same tier as like a Kirk Cousins,
right.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, something like that. Where if you put a good football team around him, he'll take you a decent way. But he's not going to win you the football game and shoulder the football team.
But my point, and I guess the kind of point I'm getting to is that like, yes, that might be a franchise quarterback in that you believe in them and you give them every opportunity. But that really much different than Teddy? Like, you kind of almost need to have a guy that's his floor is as good as Baker and his ceiling is as good as Aaron Rodgers. That's what you're hoping for, right? Especially when you're the top 5 pick. You don't want to draft a quarterback at the 5th pick and him have a ceiling that is Alex Smith.
Well, you got to remember, Tony, every quarterback needs help and needs weapons. I mean,
Sure.
So I mean,
but there's a clear difference between Aaron Rodgers and a Baker Mayfield. Like, they're in different classes.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just in a. They're both
coming around very often, and I don't think anybody who, when Aaron Rodgers was drafted, thought this is what he was going to be.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the.
Nobody thought that's what Tom Brady was going to be. Nobody thought that was what Drew Brees was going to be. Like,
I mean,
I would say Aaron Rodgers theoretically checks more boxes than any of those other guys. The other guys just happen to win a lot.
Yeah, Drew Brees was drafted high in an effort. Like, they thought he was going to be a. He had the talent and everything.
Okay.
And Aaron Rodgers was a first-round pick too, I think, right?
He was supposed to be a top 3 pick, and it was Alex Smith went number 1, and they thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to go number 2, and then that's when, Aaron Rodgers is the reason people don't go to the draft anymore, because he was supposed to be walking on the stage in the first 5 picks, and this mug had to sit in the green room for 4 hours, and he got picked like 23rd or something, 22nd by the Packers, who already had a quarterback. I'm just
saying. Did you ever see the YouTube video that NFL Network put out on that? It was like a little mini documentary about it. It was really interesting because at that time they didn't have the CBA. So if you drafted a quarterback, even with your first round pick, like, you're negotiating quarterback money.
Yeah, so that was when Sam Bradford got $50 million.
Right.
Guaranteed.
So all these other teams, like, normally now in today's world, if Aaron Rodgers had fallen, even if they had a quarterback in place, whatever, I'm going to draft him just because he's a cheap rookie quarterback. Then it wasn't like that. You had to pay quarterback money. So all these teams were like, nah, I'm good, until it fell to him.
Well, I think another thing, and I tell you, is I know that it's not great for the players in some cases, but I do think it's kind of good for football. And that is, it kind of sucked when Sam Bradford walked into the team and didn't play a single snap, and he was the highest paid player on the whole team. And I know he plays the most important position, this and that, but you had 5-year Pro Bowlers on that team. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have guys that are badass, and their sacrifices, their salaries were getting just destroyed. So I think it was good for football what they did with this CBA. But I know it sucks when football players look at them. When you're a star football player and then you see a bum-ass NBA player making 10 times as much as money you. I know that's.
Did y'all hear Giannis just got paid like over $200 million?
Yeah, but you can't compare that. You got 16 players on an NBA team, maybe some teams.
How many games do you play on an NBA team as well? I mean, you got to think about those things as well.
I don't care. The NBA don't make as much money. Like, I promise you this, is that the Carolina Panthers in 16 games and 8 home games make more money than the Charlotte Hornets do.
But you got to dole it out over 52 players plus a practice squad.
I don't care. I think they still do it. And I'm telling you this, is that I promise you that the NBA the more money just goes to the players. Like, they just get more of the pie.
The NFL could learn from the NBA. The NBA is run so much better than the NFL is. Oh my God.
The draft.
Better. Except for the draft. I'll give you that.
No, you know what is so I didn't like I hate the lottery thing. And I hate the idea of a lottery being introduced to the NFL, but I did hear a point that made sense to me recently. And that was, it's so easy to tank in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to tank and it be enjoyable. Like, you can win 30 games in a row lose 30 games by 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
You could be like, just miss this free throw, homie. You could just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, there's a way where it's still entertaining and this and that, and you lose 30 games in a row. Like, it's a lot easier to tank and get to be the worst team. And all of a sudden, that one player makes such a big difference because it's 20% of your starting roster.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and
so it's
sometimes
almost
still
like
worth it, man. Dude,
yeah, right, and it's still worth it.
I don't follow basketball at all. Like, I don't know shit about basketball really, but from everything I've seen, that LaMelo Ball kid is looking pretty good for the Hornets. Like that dude, dude, he's doing like no look passes and shit.
He can't shoot
like,
though.
brother, I believe.
He can't shoot.
His older brother. Hey, look, I'm telling you, dude, the NFL could take notes from the NBA. Like the way their structure is set up, they have it where you have a max amount of money that a player can make. It's a max contract for this much amount of money, this many years. Okay,
but it's 100% guaranteed.
In order
right?
to qualify for that, you have to make the All-Pro team, first team or second team, twice, I think. So you make that twice, you can qualify for. If we did that in the NFL, if we put every position on a cap and say, okay, the max that you can make at this position is $30 million a year, but you've got to make the Pro Bowl team 2 years in a row or be voted, all pro 2 years in a row to be able to get that contract. That would completely change the game up. I'm telling you, the NFL could take serious notes from the NBA and fix the way everything is in the NFL as far as contracts go, I believe.
Oh, Trail One said he scored like 15 points last night. Good. He was 0 for 5 on his first night. I'm excited. I think he sounds like a good kid, even though his dad is, a joke. But I think, if you're Charlotte radio, you're begging to have his dad on the radio all the time.
But
he can come on this podcast, man. Come on.
Come on, it's a joke.
Dude, forget what he said.
But it's working.
He had two sons that were drafted top 3 in the NBA draft. He's doing something right.
Well, his sons are doing something right.
He's part of that. He's had them sent across seas and this and that. But if our president has taught us anything, there's value in being ridiculous.
It's true.
Sure.
Right?
True.
And so hey, what's his name? Lonzo. What's his name? Not Lonzo.
Lamar Ball.
Lamar Ball has an open invitation on the C3 Panthers podcast. I don't care if you think he's a clown or not. You know what? I'd love to talk to this motherfucker. I would.
Yeah, he did. He played for the Panther on the practice squad for like a season.
All right, let's go to the next call. 252-228-5098.
This is Chuck from Elizabeth City calling again. Like I was talking with the draft, I really do feel that, we're really so close. I would love a top 5 pick. We're definitely not getting one of the 2 quarterbacks, but Zach Wilson might be the guy. We might end up having a guy who can come in and start day one. But I'm so scared we're going to pick a quarterback and we're going to keep treading water, guys. Keep treading water. And we're going to pass up a stud offensive tackle, a linebacker, or a shutdown corner. That is a fear of mine. Now, number 2, thing I want to get to on Sunday's game, everybody talks about how bad our offensive line is. We've really lost a lot of good offensive line talent, and I hope we don't lose Taylor Moton. Scares me. But the one thing I've noticed the guys play hard. The 4 sacks that Denver had against us Sunday, in my opinion, 2 or 3 of those sacks were not on the offensive line. I know they had a stunt play where they did get to Teddy early.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it was Teddy holding on to the ball. He can't throw the ball down the field. And since we're talking about Teddy, I'm finally on board with this. I'm tired of Teddy Ditchwater. The guy has a terrible demeanor. We went from having a coach who folded his arms and could not game plan to a coach who's involved in the game. But we had a quarterback who was energetic and carried the team. And maybe it was right to move on from Cam. It probably was. But now we've got a quarterback who doesn't take responsibility. His demeanor sucks. He's not the answer. And we wasted a lot of money on him. And I can understand where you guys want a guy like Zach Wilson or the kid from North Dakota State, Trey Lance. But I'm just so worried that we're going to get a pick that is not going to pan out to be the man. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to stand up for the offensive line because as bad as they've been, I don't think they're the problem. I see DJ
They
Moore
were
was
terrible
in
this
battle
past week,
Sunday.
though.
The secondary did look terrible. I will say that they did, but I can't blame. It doesn't happen every week like that to them.
This
Brian
is the
Burns
first
got
time
robbed on that sack. We would have got us off the field. They wouldn't have scored. And nobody's even talking about the punt return touchdown. Did you not see the blatant hold on the call?
Yes,
Nobody.
yes, the kicker got held.
We get
Yes.
the worst of people calling the game. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
James Lofton or the other guy who was commentating that actually said that the running back we now have, the guy we got from Chicago, who's done a great job, and I can't think of his name right now, but we had a tough decision at the end of the year because we were going to have to decide if we were going to pay. Well, the truth of the matter is the guy's a free agent. We're not going to keep him. We'll just have to plug in
Mike
someone
Davis?
else who he'll flip.
Yeah, he's not. He's going to get paid somewhere else.
Yeah, and he's, you know what? You know who could use Mike Davis right now is Tampa.
Yeah.
They could certainly use him. I think this is that don't worry about picking it and it not being right. That can happen at any pick at any time, and it can happen in the third round with Will Grier. It can happen in the second round with Greg Little. It can happen in the first round with Vernon Butler.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really can, and it will happen. It happens. You know,
And can we be
missing
honest, too?
happens.
In this system, with this is one of the most quarterback friendly systems you're ever going to be in, right? It's about getting the ball out fast, and then hopefully the occasional deep shot if we can get somebody who has an arm. So it's too many people have fizzled out of the NFL, and I feel like they should have been better had they been on a better team, right?
Yep.
And,
Amen.
Yep.
And too many quarterbacks have gone to bad teams, and they're expected to turn it around. But in all reality, it's hard to do that if you don't have the talent around you. You don't have a coach that's going to be making sure you're in the best position to succeed.
And you're slightly in over your head at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're basically drafted to be the face of a franchise immediately out of college. I mean, who really succeeds in that type of a environment in a bad situation 90% of the time? It's not something that happns very often.
Right.
Well, I think they even mentioned it and interestingly, I think they mentioned it in the commentary. Who was it? Lofton? Who's the color commentator? Which someone in the YouTube chat, but the comments said I said colored commentator in the if I said that, I didn't mean to say that. The color commentator, who was a former Hall of Famer, he even mentioned this about Mike Davis, and that was this guy was on the verge of not being in the league. He had bounced around from teams. It wasn't going to get the opportunity. It didn't seem like it's like when talent meets opportunity is very important. And if anything, maybe the biggest weakness of the NFL and why we're kind of all secretly rooting for XFLs and AFFs and things like this is that there's so much pressure on each play, and it's like either you are expected to be great and you are, or you aren't, or you're not expected to be great and we don't give you a chance.
Yeah.
It's so hard to cut. Even think about with practice, guys. Even in practice, even if you could be good, this is why the coaches are lying when they say they know what they got in a guy. No, they don't they have 2 hours to work with these mugs on Thursday. You think they're giving Will Grier snaps with anybody? No, they're asking Will Grier to go get water. They don't. I mean, and that's the thing that's why we always root for the practice squad guy. That's why we root for a Damiere Byrd, that type of player. In my mind, where I have is that they get no chance but one chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's it.
And
it's like, your number's called. If you're not a superstar, you out.
Yeah, and it's from the top to the bottom with players. It all depends on where you're drafted. Like we're saying. If I can guarantee you can pick different places for different players. If they were drafted, they'd be either less successful or more successful. Like, just for instance, imagine Cam Newton getting drafted by Dallas, being behind that offensive line and having DeMarco Murray and Ezekiel Elliott, You know,
I still
Des
think
Bryant,
Dallas is
Jason
going to. I think
Witten.
Cam's going to be with the
Imagine that
49ers
Cam Newton
next year.
would have 4 Super Bowls by now. You know?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
I mean, it all depends on where you go, man. It's all the luck of the draw. It's
100%.
it's why you get, what's his
It
name? Who's the
doesn't
guy?
all depend, but it does help. Like it matters.
Yeah.
Let's put it
It's
that
more
way.
important than people at large give credit for.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Sam Darnold, everyone had him
Absolutely.
as a top-rated quarterback, and then he goes to New York, which is a terrible situation, which has a bunch of coaching turnover and a bad coach. There are only so many things you can overcome.
What about this?
maybe
Can we
Dwayne
use an
Haskins-
example that we've already talked about in that Alex Smith went number 1 to a terrible 49ers team at the time, and Aaron Rodgers went in the 20s or whatever he went, and he went and sat behind Brett Favre. And then, so imagine what would the trajectory of Aaron Rodgers' career, not saying he would be a bum or a bust, but would it be as equally as great if he would have been given the 49 if it had been reversed?
Exactly. You'll never know.
Butterfly effect. Let's write a. You know what? I need C3 listeners to start writing fan fiction about what could have been. Or the number is 252-228-5098.
Don't make it sexual.
Podcast brothers, how y'all doing?
What's up, G?
Again. Hey man, I was looking on Facebook.
Hey,
They're
Tony, I
saying
think
that
Greg was pacing out.
You're good.
Oh,
sorry.
you out, Greg? You gotta go. Yep, he's gotta go to work.
Man, post office man, we're working hard right now. I got to be up at 5 to go to work, so I'm gonna get out of here.
God
you
bless
already
you.
know. I don't like Teddy. I don't like Matt Rule. Go Panthers. Keep pounding. Let's draft Zach Wilson. And
Frontline worker right there. Frontline worker. Thank you, brother. Making Amazon a $1 billion corporation. We appreciate it.
Right.
Or $1 trillion
Don't
corporation.
get punched by anybody.
I try not to.
Punch
Later.
them. Don't get punched. Later, bro. All right, G, what you guys say? If I play.
Podcast brothers, how y'all doing?
What's up, G?
Cavassier again. Hey man, I was just looking on Facebook, and they're saying that David Tepper is going to make a decision on to keep Hurney. And Cody, I agree with you, man. It's time for Hurney to go. I know you guys getting a little debate about that shit, and people called in and was coming at you and everything. I'm with Cody on this, you guys. It's time for Hurney to leave. And do not get me wrong. That dude hits in the first round. That son of a bitch hits in the first round. I will give him that. But when it comes to contract signings and stuff like that, he overpays people too much damn money, and they don't produce.
Right.
They don't. And I agree with what you guys were talking about last week about Bucky Brooks. Yes, I wouldn't mind him being a GM at all, man, because he was a scout and everything like that.
Yep.
I don't know about Dan Morgan. I mean, that would be cool and everything like that. But Bucky Brooks,
Better feel good story. I
and
think.
he's a fellow Tar Heel because I'm a Tar Heel fan. You know, go
And former Panther.
Because I know you're a Clemson fan. You know,
Scout.
what I'm
I think
saying?
he scouted for the Panthers.
I can see Bucky Brooks pulling some strings, man. But Hurney has to go because they're saying his contract is up this year or some shit like this, or next year or some shit like that, whatever. But Tepper has to make a decision. And the way they handle Cam Newton, I see some changes coming on in this offseason. I really, really, really do, y'all. So give me your opinion on that. Would you take Bucky Brooks or would you go with somebody else? Always remember, y'all, keep pounding.
I have a thought.
Go ahead.
So, yes, the more we talk about Marty Hurney, like I said, I wouldn't be upset if he's fired. I think fired, or well, obviously contract is expired, so I don't think fired will be it. I wouldn't be upset if we rehired him as a consultant, right? Somebody to come in to offer their perspective on the draft, maybe be ahead of the scouts or something like that. I would be okay with something like that, and then having somebody else be the decision maker on making the, pulling the trigger on which people to draft and whatnot. I value Hurney's, Hurney's abilities too highly to let him go, because I think that, it's just the proof is in the pudding. I mean, it's no other GM has had his track record on first round draft picks, right? Plenty of others have had his track record on the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round draft picks, but nobody's ever had his track record on the first round.
CK, remind me next Tuesday. I'm gonna compile a list that proves you wrong, because to say that no one else has ever had his track,
you got to make the list, or else
I'm gonna have to, man,
until you bring the list.
Because okay, I hear you say that, CK, and yeah, I don't have a name that jumps to the top of my head that I can say.
Find one.
That I can say, oh yeah, look, this guy was way better. But I'm telling you,
not way better is we can make a list of people that had 10 first-round draft picks and only 2 hit. Right,
but that's a lot. CK is making it sound like there is just no better drafter of first round talent than Marty Hurney, and I just beg to differ.
The reality is there. I mean, every star player that we have ever had has been a first round draft pick from Marty Hurney. I mean, it's just the reality of it.
Here, let me give you this. Let me give you a quote. This is Jordan Gross, who, by the way, was drafted by Marty Hurney and works with the Panthers. I'm pretty sure it's Gross that said this. Hold on, I just saw the quote. I got the article that is up right now on The Athletic. Marty Hurney's future at Carolina, will David Tepper extend GM contract? And the quote says this: 4 head coaches, 2 CBA deals, 2 owners. He's picked the hell out of some first-round draft picks, Gross said. He picked everyone that's on Mount Rushmore with him. He groomed one of the best GMs in the league in Brandon Beane. That's offensive tackle, former legend Jordan Gross talking about it. And so I think part of it has to just ultimately be like this, is that there are some accomplishments for Marty Hurney, but the number one misaccomplishment or unaccomplishment, failure, right? Isn't that the opposite of accomplishment, failure? Is ultimately is that the team has not won. Yeah. And that is, I mean, if you look at the record that he's had as a GM, he's sub 500.
Yeah.
Sunday's loss, quote, according to Person, to Denver assured the Panthers would finish with their 16th losing season in 26 years. So he's not been super successful at the same time. He's not even been really successful at the same time. Like he has 2 main accomplishments. His ability to work with diverse people, from Jerry Richardson to David Tepper. You can't think of different peoples. And then to pick a couple of awesome first rounders. But some of them, and I like what Cody does say on the first round thing is, I mean, Julius Peppers, come on, bro.
Yeah, of course you picked that guy.
I know, but there's plenty of people who pick that same guy. How many times have people picked that exact same person and they've been a bust?
But also,
I know, but you got to do it too at the same time.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is he's pulling the trigger on the guys that have been impactful to this team more so than many other people. And I like I said, I'm not going to defend his downfalls. Like, it's not 100%. I mean, we are a sub 500 team with him having taken the helm as a GM. We are, not the greatest when it comes to contract negotiations and in positions that are maybe undervalued or more replaceable, like a running back, as Cody would say. I mean, those are all absolute weaknesses. But I have yet to see a GM who is 100% on everything, right? And so when you have there's a scale of Marty Hurney. Marty Hurney's scale is not like everything's down here, right? There's weaknesses, but there's also these positives. And every other GM, there might be a more balanced one, but they're not going to have the same level of quality here that Marty Hurney has.
And
so I'm just saying.
And I guess we may have had did we have a quarterback in 2002? Would that have been the guy that went to New York and did well, used the N word in the locker room and got in a fight with, who was it? Starts with a C.
Collins? No.
Who was that guy's? Who was our quarterback? The Panthers 2002 quarterback. Because this is an interesting. We had Chris Winkie, yes, which was terrible. I knew he was going to be a bum from the beginning. He was 30 years old or 28 years old when he got drafted, it felt like. But here's interesting, Cody. And we picked a first-round quarterback the year before. So we kind of went in with what we thought was going to be the franchise quarterback. We got the Heisman pick. I could have told you back then it wasn't going to work. But the next year we picked Julius Peppers. Interestingly, the Detroit Lions, the third pick in that draft. David Carr went first. And he was very good for Houston until they just let him get sacked 78,000 times. But Julius Peppers is sandwiched between David Carr and Joey Harrington. So, there's a fine line between trying to get that franchise quarterback and getting a bum and missing on Julius Peppers.
Yeah. I just maintain all those things that he does well, those aren't little, or all the things that he does wrong are not little things. They're very major flaws. They're very major
accomplishments.
But and on top of that, to say that we're not going to be able to get another general manager that can't make good first-round picks, like that's the crux of my argument. There isn't anything that Marty Herney does that isn't replaceable.
All right, let's go to the next call. Let's go to the next call.
Not replaceable. Like that's possible to not be replaceable. Like that's the thing is you've got to take the good with the bad, Cody. We're not going to get a GM that comes in here first day and makes this a winning franchise. And we made the decision to go with Tepper to get us out of a cap hell, and then we got rid of him because of the way he's feeling. Yeah. What did I say?
You
Tepper.
said
My bad.
Tepper.
Yeah, they remind me of the same person, honestly. But I just think that there's a fine line. I'm okay with, like I said, I'm not on the hill of saying if we fire Marty Herney, I'm going to be all upset. I'm going to be worried that we're going to go backwards because a new GM that's never had the experience to be a GM, who's only been behind somebody who's actually making the decisions, is a risk, and it's always going to be a risk. You can talk about Dan Morgan all you want. He's in this franchise, but he's not made the decision. He's behind somebody else making that decision. And so that's what I'm talking about is you're right. You might get somebody to come in here and get those first round picks every time, but you could also get somebody who makes just some of the dumbest first round picks like the Jets or not the Jets, but the Giants, I just think you've got to take the with a grain of salt. I mean, is it worth that risk in your mind to fire Marty Herney and then risk going backwards by 5 or 6 years because we don't get a GM?
Yes, because you realize the same conversation that we're having about the general manager is literally the same conversation that we're having about the quarterback.
Different
entirely. Because no, it's not different at all. Because what we're saying is that if you're going to take a chance on a quarterback, that guy could bust, and you're going to be up a creek for the next 5 years with a busted ass quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, so then some people are like, well, since he might bust, we shouldn't even try. Go to a different position first. It's the same thing with the general manager. If you're just going to assume, well, okay, we might hire a guy and he isn't even half of what Herney is, and then that tanks us. Like, you have to trust your vetting process. If we're going to trust that we're going to bring in someone new and dynamic with a fresh pair of eyes, once they pass that test, then you hire them. There is risk involved in all of it. Absolutely. What I'm saying is the risk out. It's worth it because the chances of us busting on a GM, I feel nowadays is less likely than it ever had.
Let's go to the next call, guys.
And for.
This is Jay Anderson again. Just continue, but like I said, man, you got the Vikings. The Vikings.
Oh, I missed his first call. Here's
what's going on, C3 Nation. It's your boy Jay Anderson and y'all up, man. Hope y'all being safe and everything.
What up, Jay?
Listen to the podcast on Sunday, man. Talking about Marty Herney. One thing I give credit to is Marty Herney is a good first round draft pick GM, but that's the only thing he is. Granted, he probably is one of the best in picking in the first round, other than 3 of those years where he picked Jeff O. But I heard, some people say because of injury he didn't pan out.
No, second round
and
anyway.
then we didn't have those 2 draft picks that next year that we traded for. You know, those 2 draft picks, 2010 and 2009. But the thing is, you know, I could say Ozzie Newsome was a good first round draft pick. Probably like 4 of those years he didn't have not so good. Yeah. You can say the Kevin Colbert from the Steelers can match Marty Herney too. I would say somebody like Mickey, you know, the guy from the Saints. You know, he can draft in the first round real well. He probably had 2 or 3 stumps on the way. But at the same time, man, it's like, that's cool you can draft in the first round, but when you have so many picks, so many draft picks, every year you want to at least hit 3 out of 4 with those picks.
Hey, and I'm going to pause the call for 1 second just to bring this up, is that it's possible that, Marty Herney, you could theoretically keep him involved if we believe he's so important to first round picks, which I don't think he is, and I do think he is. I think there's a lot of, most importantly, he's picked linebackers like crazy in the first round. It's just been amazing. At times you just didn't know it should have been. And Luke Kuechly's the greatest example. And it's hard for people to remember. We had John Beeson, who was a beast. It was Thomas Davis that was struggling with injuries. And then John Beeson started to get nicked up. We didn't know it was going to be as long-term as it turned out, or habitual as it turned out to be. And they're already putting in work with Luke Kuechly. It was just a lot of there's some cool things going on at linebacker and this and that. But, hey, is that I almost want to make you a contract worker for a day.
Yeah.
If that's,
I would say,
you know what I'm saying? It's like advisor.
Make him the head scout. Make him the head scout. I'm okay with that. Honestly, he might be all right with being somebody who's even further behind the scenes than he is now. Honestly, that may be a great way to kind of just round out your career without having the,
shame and embarrassment of being fired or this and that. He doesn't seem like his ego's too big either.
And I think David Tepper really respects Marty Herney. Let's be honest. If David Tepper didn't respect what Marty Herney did, and if he didn't see value in what Marty Herney does for this organization, he would have fired him with Ron Rivera. There wouldn't have been a question about it.
I don't think you really have to worry, Cody, though, about Marty Herney being the GM going forward. I don't think that he's going to live out this contract. I think it's how he lives out the contract, and that is, excuse me, let me rephrase. I think he'll live out his contract, but I don't think that he'll be fired or promoted.
You think he'll be retired?
Maybe retire. He might, there could be something to where it just says, look, I've had a long run with the Carolina Panthers.
I'm just tired.
And yes, and it's really we weren't going to hire you back anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want. I'm not going to beat the drums down this all night. I want to give at least 4 names that I think right now they might not have the same tenure as Marty Herney, so they don't go back a million years, but guys that I would pick as better first round general manager drafters today. John Lynch of the 49ers, Brett Veach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Eric DaCosta of the Ravens, and Mickey Loomis of the Saints. Okay. So one of them is in our own division. And throw in Kevin Colbert and Brandon Beane.
All right, let's keep going with Jay Anderson's goal.
And there are times when Marty Herney and the Panthers, they have 8 or 10 picks, and they only get one right. Like the Carolina, in 2011 when they got Cam, and they had 8 picks, but they only got
draft.
Cam, and that was it. Yeah. Everybody else was a dud. We're not going to hit. I understand we're not going to hit the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. Understand that. They're just throwaways. But you need a GM that's going to at least hit those first 3 rounds, maybe a 4. And if you pick up a GM that works, that you can coach up in the undrafted, that's cool. But also, need a GM that's
fair.
going
This is
that's
fair.
going to make the right decision as far as pay is concerned. You know, keeping people. You know, okay, we let this person go, we can let this running back go. We got a backup that gonna fill in this place and stuff like that. You can replace guys. I don't think Marty Hurney has been doing that greatly. Now the Steelers, you could say Bill Belichick, you could say lately the Saints have been doing a good
Look,
job.
we got a
in
part
doing
two
that,
to Jay Anderson's call. I do want to point this out is sometimes it's so easy for us to talk about the failures of people in life. You know, it's easy for me when I'm grading a paper to talk about what's not good about it. What's interesting, I think, about the Marty Hurney story is I think he got into football through the media. I'm not 100% positive about this, but I feel like he worked in Washington with like the Washington Redskins media in the 90s or in that area and somehow infiltrated the executive branch of the NFL. So that's kind of interesting for people out there who are, rethinking their careers during COVID. Joe Person, I don't think you're going to be GM of the Carolina Panthers then.
I have a question that I think is pretty relevant. What would you say Ron Rivera's one of his biggest downfalls was?
I would say an inability to adapt and adjust.
What else? What is something else that we've criticized him, especially towards the latter part of his career?
Not playing younger players.
So how much of that is also on Ron Rivera from the 2011 and 2012 draft class that he didn't actually play the younger players?
Right. Like, did those guys just fizzle out because nobody gave
Ron
him
Rivera
a chance?
is a veteran guy.
That's an interesting question.
I mean,
I think Ron's big failure is believing in himself more than
believing he was right and without adapt. Like I said, with Cody's first point, not being willing to adapt because if he's adapting, that's admitting that he didn't have the right game plan to begin with.
Right.
And so I do agree. I think that there is a failure to adapt, but I think that, we could sit here and go, what if all day, but the same token, we also got to look at the coaching staff and realize that they had a big part of our failures in the second and third round picks as well.
And we got to we do have to say this is that, and maybe this won't be as satisfactory to Cody, is to say that Marty Hurney's the best GM the Panthers have ever had. I understand that is not necessarily the argument you want to hear, but Ron Rivera is the best coach in Panther history.
Sure.
To this point. And that doesn't mean that firing him was wrong either. I'm not trying to say that. Is that there is interest and it's a short history. I mean,
that's like a 17-year-old saying her 15th birthday party was her favorite.
Right.
She's going to have more.
But no, there's I think that Rivera, first of all, he was not a head coach before. Right, so he could have been a complete disaster. And many people, we thought he was for a little while. Not him, necessarily. Ron Rivera, like I said at the beginning of the show, he fits certain situations. There's some good things to him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I don't need, I could bring in, so say you give me Kyle Shanahan or somebody else, and they're like a restaurateur from New York, and they know how to, freeze ice cream at whatever and roast chicken at 1,000,000,000 degrees and cook this, sous vide, I think is with the bag where they boil the shit in the bag. And it's supposed to be they might be the best cook, but if we're out in the woods and all we got is a couple of cinder blocks and a pig, we might need Ron Rivera. So, I mean, sometimes it's about situation and what the fit is. And I actually think he was a great fit for the football team who is in disorder.
I think he was a great culture builder, right? I think that's something that, he's great at building up the organization. I just think his downfall has always been, and it's still, very well can continue in Washington. He could be better at this than in Washington, but I feel like his inability to move away from the same strategy he's employed for the same, 7 or 8 years was his downfall here. People learned him too easily. He may have adapted when he went to Redskins and now he's got a new game plan, but in 7 years,
I don't think he has a new game plan. I think it's the exact plan. And I think they have been missing that entirely. They've just been crazy land. It's like, he's like this, is our goal is to swim to the other side of the pool. Stop being a fool. Just swim there. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's a steady guy, and sometimes that steady guy is going to get you 12 wins, and sometimes it's going to get you 6 wins. Yeah. All right, next call.
Hey,
this is Jay Anderson again. Just continue, but like I said, man, you got the Vikings. The Vikings GM. He has done a nice job with his first round picks and stuff like that, except for Teddy Bridgewater and a couple of things. But he did a nice job, with picking free agents. GMs that done a nice job picking free agents. Picking deep in the draft, knowing the talent. And, you're right. Also, you got to have coaches that are going to help develop these talents and stuff like that. And I think that's all in the mix. You got to have a good GM. You got to have some a great scout team that recognize these players. And you got to have coaches that going to coach these players up and stuff like that. And I think that's when you have that all in place, I think you will have a long-term successful franchise. You could say that the Baltimore Ravens had a long-term successful franchise. Even they down year, they still had, good pieces around it. They just need a couple more pieces to add to their good down year. They'll probably have a good down year 1 or 2 years, but then they'll be back up, the next 3 and stuff like that. Steelers have, probably ever since 2000, they never had an extremely down year and stuff like that. They probably did have one, but they picked it up the next couple of years and stuff like that. So you got to have a GM you have a GM, you got to have a coach, and you got to have scout teams that all in those places and stuff like that. In order for the franchise to be better and for these players to be better.
You're muted if you're saying something.
It's so sorry. Thank you. It's it's difficult to quantify the value of any one of these people, but you kind of see when it's not there. It's kind of like you don't know what darkness is until light is gone. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just think it's Stefanski in the Browns. There's been so many people they put in there and with relatively similar talent. Maybe not what they had here. It's just like these guys, finally they hit the fulcrum point of having enough talent where these guys said, I don't give a fuck what you got, what the history of the Browns is. We're used to winning, homie. I'm Nick Chubb. Which I still maintain I was right on Nick Chubb being better than Sony Michel.
Do you remember me calling into the cat calls telling you that Nick Chubb was the real deal?
I know. I'm a Georgia fan. Both of them are Georgia guys, and I felt like Sony Michel was the celebrity of the moment. Nick Chubb was just he was good, and he's just like an uncelebrated talent. Anyway, next call.
What's up? This is Jay Anderson again. I'm sorry to hit y'all up for the third time, but another thing I can get off my mind is the whole, I know everybody been talking about why you need a quarterback. Why draft a quarterback? You got to draft pieces around Teddy Bridgewater to make things better. I know some guys from Panther Nation podcast was saying you build around Teddy, and they use an example as the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2002, saying if you build a great defense, you just just get a quarterback that's just going to win you some. The thing is that those teams didn't have a long-term quarterback, didn't have a long-term franchise quarterback. Yeah, they won just that one ring. So my thing is do you want a long-term franchise winning, franchise? You want the franchise to win long-term, or you just want that one ring and just have some bullshit years? Because if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they haven't been up since then, since that Super Bowl year. And during that time, they was exchanging quarterbacks throughout that whole that's how Tony Dungy got fired, because he didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And they were one quarterback away.
Gruden
Well, basically, they was one coach away, because that coach coached Brad Johnson. But Brad Johnson was nothing. He was kind of like Teddy Bridgewater, but he wasn't a franchise quarterback.
Better.
So you got to have a franchise quarterback to have a long-term successful franchise years. I mean, we don't want to be just having. I mean, granted, we won a championship, but we just don't want to have a quarterback that just win that one championship and we just have nothing and stuff like that. It'd just be bad. We end up like the Buccaneers are.
I will take a Super Bowl, but
you don't want that. You want a long term. You want a franchise that can always compete and always contend for a championship. Get one, but always compete. And contend too as well.
Thanks, Jay Anderson, you man. I won a Super Bowl a ton. But the question I think that raises at what cost? Like, imagine if you could trade. It's kind of like a deal with the devil. And, like, what if we could get this one Super Bowl and
never return?
And then the rest. It's like you can bang this supermodel, but your dick will never work again. I don't know if that's the deal I'm looking for. So, I mean, why does it have to be either or, right? And that is the Cody Lashney motto, is we can walk and chew gum. Both can be true. Like, we can have a champ. Imagine putting Russell Wilson on that Baltimore team.
Yeah, and also, let's just be real with this. Have y'all seen the Kansas City Chiefs?
They can't lose.
It's dude, listen, I don't know if people, I mean, obviously we know this because it's such a good football team, but dude, that's the standard now.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl again this year, like they did last year. They're going to be favored next year. And then you have to look, all right, did you have a quarterback that can do what Russell Wilson's doing or come close? Or what
Can
Justin
we just
Herbert's
look at this
doing or
past
come close?
week? Can we just look at this past week for what Kansas City did? Is that they played a team that is an underrated juggernaut in the Miami Dolphins, right? The Miami Dolphins have a sick-ass defense. Their offense has been well enough, right? It's been productive enough that they get the ball in good situations, they score. They do some different things. Their special teams always does shit. They're kind of a complete team. They are many ways kind of the team you would want to build, that team you want to build. But here's the deal, is they played the Kansas City Chiefs, and they gave them everything, man. They won the turnover battle. And they were there. They had a chance to win. They did have a chance to win. But you're talking about Patrick Mahomes having one of the worst games in his career, and guess what happens?
It wasn't enough.
Still win. Yes, like what was it? It was when Las Vegas? You saw this when the Raiders played them, and they go up, and there's 58 seconds left, and the Chiefs got to score a touchdown, and guess what they do? Just
let me ask you. But here's the thing. I mean, that almost plays right into that same argument that we're talking about, like trying to, avoid. And that is Mahomes was drafted into a complete team. He was. Like, that team was built. Kelsey, Hill, the offensive line. You had
But they're not complete. They're not even, I think they are. I do understand what you're saying, is that they're a really good team. It's not just Mahomes, but it kind of is.
But that's what I'm saying.
Like, if you stick Teddy Bridgewater on that team, they don't win against the Dolphins.
No. And I'm not going to take anything away from Mahomes. I haven't been the biggest fan of Mahomes. I still
he's
in the early days.
Incredible, dude.
But I mean, it's clear that he's the real deal. Like I was saying, like he's just checked down. I mean, and if you watch it, he still does a lot of check downs. But he does unload that
Tyreek Hill. How does Tyreek? And there's another thing. How is Tyreek Hill this fucking good, dude?
Yeah.
Because he's the fastest player in football, man.
I don't care, man. Is that like, I don't care if he's the fast. It's something more. There is a greatness factor. There's a greatness gene, because if that's just all it is, then Curtis Samuel should be that. Ted Ginn should be. No. This motherfucker somehow scores 4 touchdowns a week. I don't understand.
He is one of, if not the best. In my mind, Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Hopkins are the 2 best pure receivers.
Fuck that.
In the
Devontae
NFL.
Adams is the
Hill
best.
is just so elusive.
Adams is the best.
Tyreek Hill is
good, but dude, he's not DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins already passed his prime.
I don't know about that, man.
Yeah, he is. He's not the deep threat. And like, no.
He never was.
I would take Adams over Hopkins
really.
today.
Tyreek Hill is also, but listen, that's a match.
I'm not
made
saying
in heaven.
Hill. I'm saying Devontae. Isn't it Devontae Adams? The Green
With the
Bay
Packers?
receiver? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
he's
guy I
definitely
think who's number 1 in the league. I think he's the best receiver.
He's just got.
He's most complete, dude. He's a possession. He's a
getting the ball to him.
Sure, he is, but he's also double covered all day.
So
he's better than Michael Thomas. Let me just say this: he's better than Michael Thomas.
I agree with that.
And he is, I think, better than DeAndre Hopkins today.
I don't know about that.
Maybe
man.
not 2 years ago. Maybe not 2 years ago.
I think Kyler Murray is good, but he is not Aaron Rodgers good, where he's getting this ball into these perfect spots every time he throws the damn ball. Like, I think comparing the two is tough, because when DeAndre Hopkins had a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, who was getting the ball into tight windows, he was making people, and he's still doing the same thing in.
Look at what DeAndre is doing this year for Arizona.
Yeah,
I know it's fine. It's fine. Look, I got him on my fantasy team. It's good. It's very good. But I'm telling you, Adams is more of an impact player right now this year.
He's more impactful. Yeah, I would agree.
And maybe it's because Rodgers makes sure it happens. But like this dude, when he's on the field, he is the man. But still, Tyreek Hill is the most electric of players. Like, just,
I agree with that.
Just simple and plain, is he's unstoppable, and he should be.
Don't you think that there's already never been a true better? I mean, obviously, there's a long history in the NFL, but Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, that is a match made in heaven. The fastest wide receiver in the world with this fucking crazy ass quarterback that can throw it just off his back foot 85 yards into the end zone. Like, dude, that's hard to deal with.
And Hill's more than being fast, dude. Like, he goes up, he's got ups, he's got agility. It's like all of these things, and he's so small, and it shouldn't be the case. He's what you want Curtis Samuel to be, bro.
There was this one play, and this illustrates everything Tyreek Hill is. It was a situation where I think it might have been a halftime, it might have been the end of the game. It was the Kansas City Chiefs against Dallas, and they got the ball off short to Tyreek Hill. He had at least 7 defenders in front of him. He eluded every single one of them and got into the end zone.
Dude, the Mug had a rushing touchdown. Like, the week before, he had 260 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving. This week, he had like a receiving touch. I mean, it's unbelievable. His product, to me, is what's most surprising is not how good he is. It's just the continuous productivity. You usually see players like this happen, but how they do it for so long, it's so impressive, man. It's amazing. It's magical. And guess what? Don't expect it in Carolina anytime soon.
Joey Esquivel, if he's still here, wants to hear his call.
Well, we're going. Let's go. Here we go.
Hey, C3, I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and the Denver Broncos whipped our ass so bad that Drew Lock earned a new nickname. They call him Horsecock Lock. That's when you know you got a shit secondary, when Drew Lock gets a nickname like Horsecock Lock. That's all I got to say.
Oh, God.
I'm out.
All right, next call.
Hey, guys. Joey. We're talking about Ron Rivera and stuff, and how, dude, if he wins Coach of the Year, I mean, he would have never done it here again because he's not a bad coach, but he did all he could do for us. So
I agree.
He's literally doing what he did in his first years for us, as he is with Washington. Like that's literally what he's doing. But we're talking about when we fired Rivera. Shit, I still remember where I was. I was in Raleigh. I was at a program. I'm not going to explain it to you because it would take like 3 cat calls. But I was in Raleigh for something, and I had gone to the convenience store. I'm standing in line. I still remember what the ladies look like, too. Well, not look like, but you get it. Okay, I know you're probably going to go into that at the end of the show. But I knew, like, I still remember what she looked like. This lady had to be an old lady because voice was, like, deeper than mine. Says something about Ron Rivera getting fired, and my hearing sucks. I'm like, wait, what? And she goes, yeah, they fired Ron Rivera. And I'm like, oh, man. I mean, they should have done that a while ago, but... So when I get out of the store, and I'm turning the corner, my dad calls me. And I'm thinking something bad happened because I was walking on the street. So I answer the phone, and he goes, yeah, you know they fired Rivera? And I'm like, holy shit. They did?
Was that a story from last year?
And I'm like, yeah, I gotta go. I'm on the street. So I hung up, and I went back to the place. So yeah, that's what I was doing when I found out Ron Rivera got fired. I literally must have been,
he lit a candle in the
acquiring
spot
some,
that he heard
sausages.
Ron Rivera
That's
getting
what
fired
I
at.
used to do. I used to have some pickled sausages and Coke and watch the C3 podcast.
Each
And
year we
interesting,
light
I
a
get there.
candle.
Oh, and by the way, I'm getting on the Fire Marty train. I'm not going on the hill because I want to sit next to Caroline Can. Anyway. Wow!
Bro, you could stand.
I don't blame you, bro.
You don't need to sit beside Caroline Can. You need to stand beside her because she's like 6'7", bro. So you could stand straight up and be exactly where you need to be.
And she's not Caroline Can anymore, guys.
You know she smells so
Well, her
nice.
name is Caroline, right?
Her name's Caroline, yeah, but she's no longer Caroline Can.
Oh, yeah. She's married to somebody. Man,
Somebody else follows her on Instagram.
The most overrated chick in the history of the Carolina Panthers, Caroline Can. Next, last call.
What is your problem?
Yo, what's up, guys? It's Nick from up here in Mass.
What's up, Nick?
You know, just celebrating tonight. Turned in one of my final essays, so I'm officially graduating from college.
Oh,
you know, 29 years old, but hey, still an accomplishment. So
yes, congratulations.
But the real
bro.
reason why I called was because you guys had talked about, you know, not playing PJ, and you know, trying to lose every single game for the rest of the season. And I completely agree. I think that we definitely should do that as far as losing every game. But at the same time, we need to know what we have in PJ. We need to know where he's going to stand next year. You know, it might hurt playing him in the aspect that it might hurt his trade value, or in the aspect if he
That's
loses.
what happened.
You know, I really don't want to
draft.
see him lose, but at the same time, I want to see us lose to get a better draft pick. And at the same time, if we start PJ, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily start him against the Packers, but I would definitely start him against Washington. If we start PJ, and he looks like he's doing pretty good, and it's looking like, you know, we might have a chance, then we can make the decision to put in Teddy and just be like, all right, yep, no, time for us to lose. You know, because let's face it, Teddy sucks. The only way he might win is if we stay ahead the entire time. You know, but he's going to fall on his face. Teddy is regressing.
That's true, though. I mean,
and we should also use this opportunity to play anybody who we have question marks on. All right? I mean, I don't know necessarily who those players would be, but I definitely think that this is a good opportunity to do that. On top of this, seeing as how I have a minute left, okay, the GM conversation. Marty Herney is remarkably good in the first round. Now, I have not been a Panthers fan for years and years and years, only a couple of years, okay? But in the couple of years I've been here, well, yes, Derek Brown hasn't necessarily been the best choice. It's only his first year. We don't know what we have in him in the long run.
Yeah.
Brian Burns, Dude's a fucking monster. Christian McCaffrey.
That was
Okay?
Tepper.
Nah, that was
Cam
Gettleman.
Newton.
Luke
Luke Kuechly. Okay?
Those are
He's
all
hitting the first round. Well, I don't necessarily think that he's the best GM for us. He's proven that he has some worth, and we need to keep him here in some capacity. Even if it's only this year's the first round pick. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible, but love the show,
He's
guys.
better than
Keep
Dave
pounding.
Gettleman. All right. Thanks, Nick, and congratulations on the graduation. And don't say
That's great news.
I'm 29 and now I'm like, no, that's a great accomplishment, period, bro.
Whether you're 29 or not, yeah.
Is that's not the way, like, don't think, I encourage you, I'm not going to tell you what to do, I encourage you not to think of it that way, is whether or not you're on target for time, man. It's a good thing, man. You're working hard, you're achieving your goals, and keep going, bro. And I hate to tell you, this is more than likely, as someone who works in higher ed, sadly, the way the world works is you got to keep going to school. Anyway, that's why I'm a teacher, bro, so I can stay in school my whole life.
Joy.
All right, let's get the hell out of here. I mean, it really is. Look, Green Bay's coming up. Guys, I don't know what's going to happen with the post-game show, but there could be a chance that we turn it on. Maybe I'll let you guys host a little bit of it. I'll pop in, pop it. Who knows? But we'll see if we can get it done. If not, guess where we're here? We're here every Tuesday night. We need to ice somebody up, though. Who you going to ice up this week? I'm going to ice up. I'll start.
Not me.
I'm icing you up. My wife just came in. Look at her. Look.
You are not icing me up.
Yes, I am.
Wait,
Look,
you can't even see me.
I can't see you, but they can. Don't worry. Look,
You're not icing me
Smile.
up.
Say hi.
No.
yes, I'm icing you up. Go on out of here. She's on her first day of vacation. She went out, poured it. No, get out of here. You got corona. Get away from me. You got corona. Put your mask on.
I got Rona.
Put your mask on. Stop. I got some
I
broke.
got COVID.
That's a broke.
Look at his thumb. He's giving me a thumbs up.
Oh, she said he's giving me a thumbs up.
It's about me.
That's messed up. Ow. Get out of here, woman. All right, I'm icing up somebody. My wife. For that ridiculousness. Boy, she had too much fun because she don't have to work tomorrow. All right, my ice up pick. I hate to say this, and I don't like to ice up, and I feel like, man, look, is that creators on the internet? I'm a supporter, man. I am a supporter. Like, you put yourself out there, right? Like, you try to create something we're never ready to create yet. You just got to do it. And I think, CK, I'm pretty consistent on this, is that even when you started streaming, what did I just say? Just stream as much, but just do it. Just do it, homie. Don't make it you'll get back, you figure it out as you go. If you want to be perfect on day one, you ain't never going to do it.
No.
So, like, I don't like to talk junk about creators and this and that, but big B-U-T-T, right? You got to hit the butt. Nah. I might set up Big Cat, who's a Carolina Panthers podcaster and who happens to be the #1 Panthers podcaster on YouTube. Dude's got like 7,500 subscribers. We've been doing this for 7 years. I got 1,700. So smash the subscribe, mugs. It helps. I'm not icing him up for what his content generally is and this and that. Like, I just feel like this is that my man went hard on Teddy Bridgewater, right? Is he got 5 on it. He wearing the Teddy Bridgewater jersey. He doing dances. We went on the round table, Cody, and he tried to read off these stats to us.
Yeah.
And I don't like this. I will say this, is that, and look, if you're black, look, I ain't going to tell you what the way to act or nothing like this, but I do feel like he uses the N-word as an intimidating factor. And he'll be like, and he got, blah, blah, blah. And it's like he's going to yell and say the N-word until you believe Teddy Bridgewater is great. But he was really, he even mentioned Teddy Bridgewater on Teddy Bridgewater's birthday. He said, I'm your biggest fan. And boy, Teddy Bridgewater had 2 damn really bad games. Well, not even really bad games. He had 2 quintessentially Teddy Bridgewater games. Think about it. The Detroit game, the Minnesota game and the Denver game were not awful. He didn't throw 7 picks. He didn't. It's quintessential Teddy Bridgewater. But I'm icing Big Cat up, who went from mentioning Teddy Bridgewater on Teddy's birthday as his biggest fan to Big Cat literally put a clown face on this week. And maybe we should give him credit for owning up to it. I think it's a little gimmicky or whatever. Anyway, this poor guy painted his face. And now he is no Bridgewater. He is a troubled water. This guy gotta go. And I think that this is too much what everybody does a little bit. It's like a great argument until it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, man, I just want to pat us on the back because we've been consistent.
Trying to tell y'all. We tried to
ahead
tell
of
you.
the curve, and we're spitting that real shit, man.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we've been known to flip flop, let's be honest, but not to that extent. Not to that extent. And not that quickly. I'll be the first to admit that.
How about this? Let me say this: is that I'm not even trying to buck on a man too much, like him as a person. What I'm saying is this: if you take a stand, how about this? Let me give an analogy. If Zach Wilson, if Cody Lashney comes up here and stumps. And that's a political term. Like you go stump, like you go beg people to vote for you, right? If Cody Lashney stumps for Zach Wilson for the next year, and then he has 3 bad games to start the year, and he goes, Zach Wilson is a bum. I'm going to let you fucking have it, Cody.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that we can't change opinions, but when you come so strong in defense, I actually say this is you should probably be sticking with Teddy a little bit longer. If you're him. Is that at this point, if you were that hardcore.
He's out of it. Yeah.
He was adamant that this mug was so good. Or that
2
we
weeks
were,
ago.
yeah. Is that I feel like it's like God, you go to war and that mug behind you, and you think he's fighting with you, and you turn around, this mug is gone.
Can I tell you what I think happened? Dude, he's in the business of Panther fans, like we all are, right? Yeah. And it's like I was saying to you earlier, the paradigm shifted now. It used to be, if you were Team Bridgewater, that's fine. That was a healthy sector of the Panther fan base, right? Yeah. But now everyone's not on that no more. So it don't look good if you're out there stumping for the quarterback that the rest of the fan base is doing nothing but shit on. So, hey, man, kudos to him. He owned it.
Yeah, look, a lot of people in the chat room are saying, look, he's owned it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, first of all, don't put the clown. You don't got to put the clown suit on, I mean. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do it.
Twitter was having a field day with homeboy.
I just thought you could have waited till the off season to imagine if you were the coach and you did that. It's like, man, he's our quarterback. He's our quarterback. Nope, this motherfucker sucks. All right, anyway, that's my.
Didn't they kind of do that with the what was it that they were talking about with Bridgewater? You guys may have talked about it, where he circumvented chain of command to call the third down plays there at the end.
It wasn't as bad, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. You don't want to take too much out of it, but ultimately it was this. And I've got the clip. Here's Teddy Bridgewater, actually.
You look at us throughout the course of the year, we have been coming up short, and I think it's just something an area that we got to improve in, and it starts with me. Like you said, being aggressive. You look at us against the Vikings a week ago, we were able to get a chunk play early in a 2-minute drive. This week, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. But I think I just have to continue to have the right mindset in those situations to put us in a position to win football games.
Let's go to David Newton for the next question.
Teddy, what happened right before the 2-minute warning there where you guys rushed to play, it seemed like, and Matt Rule said he preferred not to run a play there?
Yeah, looking back, I agree with Coach. It's one of those deals where we could have used the 2-minute to come up with probably an ideal play. The play that I signaled in was actually a good play as well, but we just didn't execute it. But like Coach said, it's one of those deals where we use the 2 minute, we can talk about it on the sideline, and now come up with the right play and maybe make it fourth and manageable, or we come up and, come up with a play to get the first down on third down. It's one of those deals where I saw the defense kind of looming around, thought we could steal a first down, move the sticks. But looking back, of course, probably should just let the clock go to 2 minutes.
That on you and nobody else, or?
Yeah, that's definitely me. Like I said, I saw the defense.
All right, so the reason that ultimately to your question, CK, is that and look, is that at the moment I was screaming for us to try to get a playoff too. Like I thought that was the right move, is to like we can get keep more time on the clock if we need it. You get a playoff, then you get the 2 minute warning, then you have all your timeouts. So there was something to trying to hustle it up, but the coaches wanted to slow it down and do it more intentionally. And ultimately, he just said that this is how we wanted to do it. Teddy thought he got to decide how we do it, and we wanted him to do it our way.
Didn't he say that like he didn't want to be a part of that type of football? Didn't the coach say that?
That was on the throwing it. He said he doesn't. Yeah, and that was a harsh. I would say these are the harshest words. Matt Rule this past week gave some, and look, he's always nice. He's always respectful. So he wasn't throwing his players under the. He was asked tough questions though.
Yeah.
And he said, well, why? And he said, we want to throw them to the sticks. And he made a great point, and this is really kind of what our argument has been against Teddy, is Matt Rule kind of summed it up, is that he said, yeah, people were covered, but we want you to go down past the sticks because that actually gives us a chance to live. It's like, yeah, you'll complete this 2-yard pass, but guess what? The game's over then.
Yeah.
So, like he said, give Robbie a chance. It might not be the highest percentage chance, but anyway. So my ice up pick goes to Big Cat, but not for changing his position, but abandoning Teddy too quickly. I think he's got to stay with him for a little bit longer. That's my point. All right, who else has got something?
Yeah, man. Go ahead, CK.
Mine may not necessarily fall in everybody's category of what they watch, but there is another streamer on Facebook. His name is Nitro Luke DX. He basically has made a career out of just like being toxic, right? Just toxicity. But one of the things that I think people donate stars to him for is he says 100% of his star donations go to a cause. That's basically, he's saying he goes to charity. Well, essentially today, Jeff Leach, my buddy, he has found that all of that's fake. Like, he is not donating those to charity. It is all going into his business, into his bank account. $30,000 a month worth of stars. People have been donating to this guy. And now he's in this damage control where he's like, I'm not doing anything illegal. It's going into, we are not a charity. We are a education center for, the disabled and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting here thinking, that should be a charity then, right? Like, shouldn't that be considered? He's no nonprofit. He has nothing of the sort. And the business that he says it goes into is listed as permanently closed. So like to this guy who is like to the point, like where if somebody comes in and has a different opinion of him, he basically tells them that he has sex with their mom, like that type of a person. And anytime somebody plays better than him or beats him in something, he accuses them of cheating. Like one of the most toxic people on the face of the planet. And he just got exposed today, and he's playing some damage control. And I just want to tell him, ice up, Nitro Luke, ice up.
Ice up. Yeah, what a dipshit, man. Do something in the name of charity and you're not actually doing it. That's terrible.
Autistic kids
Welcome
too. Like that's
to
the whole
world,
point,
bro. Like half of these, and I don't like. So a friend of mine pointed this out to me once. When you round up, I always love the round up donations. Like I go to Food Line and they're like, "You want to round up?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'll round up." He goes, "They taking your tax write off, homie." I was like, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're writing their shit off with our. But a lot of times, a lot of these charities, the trust pay, like the chairmans and this and that, they're nonprofit, but they are still
Bankroll.
money. Yeah, exactly. All right, what you got, Cody?
Listen, mine is it's very simple. I had something else prepared. I don't feel like going and find the clip and pulling it up. But mine's going to be very simple. It's still just to everyone saying, "Oh no, let's not take a quarterback. Let's draft a corner or a left tackle." And yes, do we have a need at all of those positions? Yes, no one is denying that. But I'm saying the opportunity to draft a franchise quarterback is not something that you just pass on. And I feel too many fans in Panther Nation are still running off the same mindset. And I don't understand it. It makes zero sense to me. I'm just icing up everyone who doesn't want to secure our franchise for the next decade by drafting a quarterback. Ice up, son.
All right, it's the C3 Panthers podcast. The number's 252-228-5098. Post-game show, still to be determined, but still call in. Do everything as normal. We'll get it figured out. Follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Cody, how can they get after you?
On Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. Tomorrow there's a brand new draft on draftet.com. And yes, I'm going to give you all the inside scoop. I wrote about Zach Wilson. We're taking Zach Wilson. I did a whole write-up about him. I provided some highlights. I provided some video clips to show you the things that he does well. And you know I shit all over Teddy Bridgewater too. So check it out tomorrow, draftet.com.
Man of many streams and video gaming kills CK.
You can find me on Facebook gaming at Codizzle_Allen. I have obviously all the other social media outlets as well, so feel free to look me up on that. But come check me out. And tonight at 2 a.m. is the new update for the new Call of Duty Season 1. There's going to be a new map for Warzone. So if you guys are interested in watching that, I'm going to try to stay up at least a little later to see if I can play that. So yeah, check it out.
Smoke some meth and get after it. No, don't smoke no meth. Maybe a Bang energy drink would be a better idea. All right, we'll see you guys Saturday, Tuesday, all of those aboves, and keep pounding.
I answer all my tweets, Lance.